Your eyes do not deceive you. We're early today because we've got a lot to get into. There's so much news, you'll poop. I'm serious. I'm serious. There's so much news that you're going to poop. And I'm excited to do that for you. You know what I mean? I'm excited to bring the news to you, to talk about it, to get into it today. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good stream. Let's go. Will we super-ish, though? I mean, that kind of depends on how much fiber is in your individual diets, you know? It might be... you might be able to describe it as that. I don't know. I guess we'll see. This means he's cutting the stream early. Not necessarily, but I am going to try to get out of here before 1. But that'll still be... That's still 3 hours from now, so... Superman doesn't have time for selfies. Yeah. Superman causing division. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so. Must be a haircut. No, actually, it's not a haircut. Elisa has an appointment. We thought it was yesterday. It's today. And Liam's grandpa is coming to watch him for a little bit. But it's also like one of those things where, because I need to work still in the afternoon, but it's one of those things where when they first arrive, it's going to be so fucking distracting and so ridiculous in the house when that happens. So, yeah, I want to get done from there. But seriously, we have so much to go over today. Let me just give you a little preview here. I want to go over the sort of Superman fan war that's happening with the reviews. It's actually pretty wild. I haven't quite experienced a lead up to a movie like this, and I think even right now it's crazy. The amount of people that are saying that the reviews are paid for or that all the reviews are fake is pretty crazy. Like, I can't really recall the last time we saw this where it seemed like it really does seem like so many fans think the reviews are fake or tampered with or paid for or something like that. And I actually want to get into it because, believe it or not, they do have a point. It's obviously not the case that Warner Brothers is literally paying all of the reviewers. That's not what's going on. But if you actually take a look at what's happening, I guess what I'll say is this. I think Warner Brothers made this bed, and I think they're now sleeping in it. And I'll explain a little bit of why that's happening and what's going on, because as ridiculous as I think a lot of this is, I also can't deny, like, what I'm seeing. And what I see is, like, a whole bunch of reasons as to why people would actually believe that. Like, Warner Brothers kind of fucked up by, I think, getting so close to certain creators and keeping other creators at arm's length. It's almost like they kind of earned that rep. I don't think it's accurate to what's going on, but at the same time, like, dude, Warner Brothers fucked that up. So we'll get into it because I want to talk about it. It's kind of an interesting topic, and we'll see what kind of an effect it'll have on the box office. I want to talk about Superman's box office projections, its chance at making a lot of money, because unfortunately it still doesn't look that great in the box office. But I will explain sort of like the Goldilocks scenario, because there's still a scenario in which I think Superman could do very, very well, but it needs two major things. It needs two major things to happen, and I don't really know if those things will happen. But we'll talk about it, because technically it's possible. There's new Fantastic Four stuff out there, guys. There's a description and review for the first 30 minutes, which is in and of itself pretty cool. But also there's one particular thing that I know a lot of you are worried about that is, I think you're going to be less worried about when we hear it. And it has to do with Sue Storm, and it has to do with Reed Richards, and, you know, so many of you that are like, it's going to be a girl boss thing and she's going to be calling the shots and all that. We'll talk about it, but basically the first 30 minutes does reveal that that is not the case. Essentially, Reed is calling all the shots, from what we understand. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about it. I wanted to talk a bit about the DCU as Star Wars. This is a comment that James Gunn has made. This is a comment that David Cornsweet has recently made as well. after having seen the film, I can now fully understand what they're talking about, and I want to try to articulate it for you because I think it's kind of interesting and cool. Ultimately, we don't know if fans will be really interested in this and be really engaged in it or not, and it is different than Marvel, and it is a lot more like Star Wars, right? Which is kind of interesting. So we'll get into that. And then we have a ton of other little things to touch base on. Like, I remember, I think it was maybe last week or the week before, we had talked about Halo. And I was like, oh, shit, Halo. Is Halo back? Yeah, Halo's definitely not back. And there's some terrible fucking news out there about Halo. So I want to get into that a little bit because I feel like it's only right if I kind of talk about it and I'm like, yo, are we back? And then I find out that we're definitely not back. I feel like I have a responsibility to explain that. So we'll talk about that. There's an absolutely fucking insane Doomsday leak. I'm not sure if it's true, but it's one of those ones that's like, goddamn, like that's really crazy. So we'll talk about that. Norman Osborn is coming to the MCU. Kevin is finally getting one of the things he has wanted for a long, long time, and that is an MCU version of Norman Osborn. We'll talk about that. There's crazy Mephisto leaks, stuff about the future plan for Mephisto, Blackheart, Doctor Strange, some stuff that came out from the Cosmic Circus yesterday in a Q&A, which is pretty freaking cool. And then, if that were not enough for you, we also have some anime news. Real quick, chat. Real quick. Have you guys ever heard of anime? Do you guys know what anime is? Have you guys ever heard of this anime? Yeah. So, anime is kind of blowing the fuck up in a way that I did not fully realize. And so there's some crazy statistics out there. There was an article that dropped last week in Variety, which I already thought was pretty crazy. I was like, dude, that is a crazy statistic. Something like 1 in 3, North American consumers is into anime or something. And I was like, that's fucking crazy, right? But Netflix has a new statistic that's even more wild, and I was like, this is fucking nuts, okay? And so we'll talk about that a bit, but it's important also because they're making a live-action Solo Leveling. So Netflix is doing Solo Leveling, live action, and that is such a big deal because Solo Leveling, I believe, just won Anime of the Year, and it is one of the most watched animes of all time, and it's like brand new. It has caught a crazy wave. Solo Leveling is like blowing up, which is awesome. And so I want to discuss the whole anime thing. I want to discuss a little bit about Solo Leveling. If we have time, there's also some news about the Elden Ring movie, although I don't know that it's going to like light the world on fire, but it is cool. They're going after some cool talent, and they're working on that thing, man. They're making that thing. So crazy times. Dune Part 3 is filming right now as well. Like, whoo, holy, bro. So there's a lot of shit going on, man. So we'll talk about some Superman stuff. We'll talk about some Marvel stuff, but then we got some other stuff to talk about, man. I'm excited to get into the anime stuff. We'll get into some Halo stuff. It's going to be cool. So that's the plan for this morning. I'll scroll up here and catch some of these super chats. Can I spill some F4 background tea? No. Keanu Reeves for anime or bust. What? From the background of the comics, not the movie leaks. I mean, sure, I guess. Solo Leveling is not that great. Just aura farming OP main character. Oh, man, I disagree. I really like Solo Leveling. I don't think Solo Leveling is like as crazy or sophisticated as some of the other like really cool anime and manga. But I think on art style, on that whole what do they call it? The MMO genre, isekais, I believe. As far as like the isekai genre goes, I think it's great. And I think the system within it, the magic system for the world, the sort of place it's going, if you know about the actual manga or magwa, I guess, because it's Korean. If you know what they're actually cooking and like sort of the end game of that isekai, dude, I think it's really good. Now, I would agree that Solo Leveling season 1 was a bit of a slow start, but man, once you get into season 2, whoo, holy, I tell you, man, I think it's good. Bianca, thank you so much for 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, Bianca. Always love to see you and love the support. Representative Binks says, I was ready to absolutely hate Superman, but your review and the last trailers actually got me hyped for it. Seeing it tonight at 7, Nerd Avengers for life. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm glad you're excited for it. JJ Lamone says, hype for Superman tonight with the wife and son. Unity. Dude, yeah, I'm excited too. So I have a spoiler review video that's being edited right now. It'll probably drop later today, but it'll be ready for a lot of you that go see the film tonight. And then tomorrow, if you're curious on like my spoiler thoughts after you see it or whatever, that should publish later today. And I actually thought it was good. I thought, like, so when I was watching back some of the stream yesterday, I was like, oh man, like I'm a little unfocused, a little all over the place. I think it partially because it was just really fucking hot and I didn't have the AC situation figured out. But I don't know that I did a perfect job on stream yesterday, kind of like breaking down my thoughts. But when I did the spoiler review, I think I did a really good job of explaining like why, what a lot of people, because it is chaotic, it is sprawling, and it's kind of all over the place. But to me, it did actually have a laser focus. And that's why I ended up liking it. And that all has to do with like David as Superman, right? So, yeah, I would recommend checking that video out. I think I did a pretty good job of, breaking that down or whatever. JJ Lamont, thank you for a gifted membership, brother. Let's see here. It's the canon movie origin comic? Yeah, I mean, that's cool, man. If you want to share it in chat or whatever, it's fine. But I'm not going to, like, make the whole stream about that, you know? So, I don't know if that makes sense. But, do what you want. Seeing it tonight with the wifey. She's 5 months pregnant with my first boy, so technically his first movie is Superman. Oh, that's great, man. Congratulations to you both. I hope you have a good time. Hope she's not too uncomfortable. It's, we saw a movie when Elisa was pretty pregnant. I think it was Love and Thunder, man, which, I mean, she fucking hated that movie, man, you know? Yeah. Do you think, Josh, we'll get a sequel anytime soon? To what exactly? Man of Steel or Superman? Yeah, I think so. We'll see though. Like, you know, I do want to get into a discussion about the success or lack thereof of this movie. Now, it's a little bit too early to exactly have that conversation because there are a couple of ways that this could go very positively for Superman. You know, there's still a scenario in which I think this movie does pretty well and maybe breaks even. But the reality is, and I guess I just wonder, man, you know, here's a question for the class right out of the gate today. How big of a problem is it if Superman loses money? The movie. Like, what do you guys think, honestly? Because, look, there's some people out there that are holding the position that if this thing loses money, it should absolutely be shut down and that it should not continue. And I understand that perspective. I also understand the perspective of thinking that Zack Snyder was treated unfairly and that if Zack Snyder made a movie that lost money like this is probably about to, that people would go really hard on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think all of that's fair. But I cannot in good conscience sit up here and say to you, yeah, if it loses money, they should end it. I just can't say that. I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? And I think you have every right to think that's a wild take or whatever, but I'm just telling you, like, I guess what I'm saying is this. I think Warner Brothers, like, I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of Warner Brothers is going to be disappointed if if this thing loses money, and if it loses a lot of money, like because right now I think the projections are still pretty swingy. I think the low end on it would be like something like 400, 450. I think the high end on it, from what we're looking at right now, would be like 550, maybe 600 in like a miracle situation. That's what it looks like right now. Now, that could change. And that is like, yeah, they're going to lose money either way. But if it's really low, I think Warner Brothers themselves is going to be incredibly disappointed. But I still think they will move forward with this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's enough positive signs, and it's also weird that like the industry is in the place that it is, because you can kind of put an asterisk on it and be like, well, I mean, look at the entire industry, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see. We'll get into all of that in just a little bit here. But I was curious as to what you guys thought about that, man. Big fucking problem, bro. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's basically, and God, this movie's been proving me wrong over and over again. So like, I almost don't dare say it. But I mean, from where I'm standing, it basically looks like the movie's guaranteed to lose money. Yesterday, Deadline revealed the actual budget was $225. That's after all of their shenanigans, right? So remember, the actual budget is something like $400. But then they use all this tax credit stuff to like get it down and all that, right? So it's like $225. But we know from John Campea that it has one of the most expensive marketing budgets of all time at like $250 million plus. That's like $500, or I guess the way you would look at it would be $475 of cost. So I don't think it's making money, dude. Like, I think it's basically guaranteed to not make money. So the question is like, but is that the end? You know what I mean? Like, should that really end it? Yeah. If that's true, it's $1 billion to break even. Yeah, so it's actually a little bit more than that to break even, considering that you only get about a third of overseas box office. But yes, I mean, yes. Or is that the plan? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by that. It shouldn't end, but it might. Yeah, I kind of think Warner Brothers moves forward either way. That's just me. That's what I think is going to happen, man. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll talk about it. What about ancillary revenue? Box office isn't the only revenue. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, right? The whole point of doing a shared universe and trying to elevate the DC characters and the DC brand is, yeah, you want ancillary material. And we'll see. I mean, how good does this movie do in merchandising? You'd like to believe it would do well. I think what the argument would be from like Gunn's position, or like from Warner Bros. Position, if there were people that wanted to continue, is like, this is enough of a good foundation. It really does seem like there's a lot of positivity out there about it. And yet obvious room for improvement. That's the other thing, right? Is like, even the good reviews kind of say it's not incredible, which is interesting. So with room to improve, with a foundation set, you could make the argument that, like, look, Iron Man 1 doesn't necessarily, like, I mean, it did make a shit ton of money for the time, to be honest with you. It gets over $600 million at the time, which was fucking crazy. But even still, like, Iron Man 1 was not such a crack smash hit like Avengers or Spider-Man level thing, right? So the argument would be, we think the next one will make a little bit more. We think the next one will make a little bit more. This, that, second, and the third. I do have to say, though, the next couple of weeks are going to be so interesting, because if Fantastic Four and Superman both perform around $500 million and don't really do much better than that, bro, if I'm Warner Brothers, I'm selling DC. Just from a business perspective, I'm like, I don't want no part of that. You might be entering, like, and that's another thing. Is like, I hate to say this, because I think all of us are still probably going to be here. Like, we all love superhero stuff, and we were watching it before it was cool and shit. Well, some of us. But there's a real scenario here of like, hey, comic shit might be done. Comic shit might be on the way out. Do you really want, as Warner Brothers, to continue to dump money into a theatrical comic book universe when theaters might be done and comics might be done? Like, really? Do you really want to walk down that road? That is, unfortunately, a conversation that they have to have. You know? So, I don't know. It's tough, man. It's a tough time. It's a tough time. Riley says, Warner Brothers isn't worried about making the ad budget back because of how important the movie is. The ad budget is seen as for the whole DCU in their eyes. I think that's true. I think that's completely fair. And I understand that argument, but I also think it doesn't necessarily address the potential changing things and, like, is it even a smart move to do this? Because think about it. Like, what if you're basically guaranteed to not make money in the theaters anymore? Like, until AI replaces enough of the digital that you're maybe kind of coming in lower than that margin. But, like, what are you really committing to? 3-4 years of losing money every single time? Marginal merchandising and licensing growth? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know how. All I know is this. It's fucking crazy to me that the dinosaur movie opened at 300 and Superman's going to probably open at 2. I think it's fucking crazy that Lilo and Stitch opens at 300 and is about to crack a billy and Superman might make half of that. Like, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying not to freak out, but it feels like things are changing. You know? Smaller budgets solve the problem, but what if they don't? You know what I mean? Like, I understand why you say that. I think a smaller budget with the same level of spectacle could solve the problem, but I just don't know that we're there, right? So, like, if you're saying a smaller budget, you're basically telling me that, like, Sergeant Rock or Clayface is the move. But if I'm Warner Brothers and I'm looking at Sinners, Minecraft, and you're telling me, like, we could make 20, 30, 40 million on Sergeant Rock, I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself and find me the next Minecraft. Like, do you know what I mean? So I just don't know, man. Like, is that the solution? Like, I don't know. Kind of doesn't seem like it. Kind of doesn't seem like it, man. All right. Anyway, let's talk about the fan war and how you guys have been so mean to me. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to make it all about me. It's therapy time. You know, so what? I like Superman. And now it's a fucking problem? Now the Snyder fandom is turning on old Josh? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, let's talk about it. So, all jokes aside, I actually do think this is a crazy, crazy experience of a first week for an opening comic book film. Now, I don't know. Maybe it was always destined to be this. Maybe it was always destined to be this way. But goddamn, am I feeling a real serious and strong pushback to not only my own individual feelings about Superman, but overall just the positivity towards Superman. I've never seen this before. I mean, do we realize, let's look at the Rotten Tomato score here, guys. This is, you know what, chat? Buckle up. Buckle up, man, because, like, I got some shit to tell you here, okay? So look at this. This thing is, and albeit it did drop, I think, rather significant from the 91 all the way down to 83. That is pretty crazy. But 96% on verified ratings, 83%. Okay, this is not a movie that, if you were just looking at these scores, you would consider controversial. This is not a movie that has a mixed opinion on it. It is overwhelmingly positive. If you were to look at these numbers, overwhelmingly positive. And yet, I see a lot of folks, more folks than ever, pushing back against this and saying that it's fake, that the reviews are paid for, that the people that were talking about it are shills. And I'm telling you right now, it is an interesting situation. And look, I ultimately think that Warner Brothers fucked this up. Okay? Now, will this fan war, will this divide translate into hurting the film? It's hard to say. You could argue it already has. You could argue it already has. And little spoiler here, and I'll pull this up because I want to talk about box office next. But like, there's a slight upgrade in pre-sales for Superman, but not really, dude. It's still looking like it's going to be 110, 120. You know, nowhere near that 170, 180 that I think a lot of folks were hoping for. So, so for what we can tell so far, the glowing reviews, 96%, 83% on that, those reviews have not translated into an overwhelming amount of sales going into these theaters. Okay? Now, put that aside for now because maybe they will. Maybe it's going to be walk-up business. Maybe it's hard to account for that, et cetera, et cetera. But I would argue that with what we're looking at for the Superman opening, like, it seems disappointing for what I would expect. I would expect this movie to open larger. I would expect there to be more buzz. And I would have expected, frankly, after the reviews, and maybe it's like I'm a little biased because, like, I really love the movie. I would have expected these sales to go way the fuck up, and they are not. And I can't help but think it is connected to this exact issue, this exact problem. Now, one thing that is worth pointing out that I've seen other people bring up that I think is actually fair is the fact that the reviews are actually pretty mixed when you look at the contents of the actual reviews. And yet a lot of people are still giving it a Rotten Tomatoes. Like, dude, there's people giving it a 5 out of 10 and then giving it a fresh tomato. A 6 out of 10 and giving it a fresh tomato. Okay? So, like, there is actually something here. But what I take that to mean is that just accurately, most people reviewing the movie are admitting its flaws. Like, that's the way I look at that. It's like you've got a whole bunch of people that are saying, oh, yeah, no, it has some glaring flaws. It is certainly not the best thing ever, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately is enjoyable, and I recommend it. Okay? And that's kind of wild. And so maybe that's a part of it, where people are like, I don't understand. Like, this is crazy. People are getting glazed in this movie. I also think there's a whole bunch of Snyder fans, right? Like, obviously the Snyder fans and people that appreciate Zack Snyder's Superman stuff, those people are still very active on social media. Those people still are big fans and potentially fans that would check this out as well. Those fans are really upset. And I've seen a lot of comments and commentary from those fans. And the one thing I will say about that group, and I think they're actually right about this, is that if Zack made this movie, if Zack made Gunn's Superman movie, this exact movie that you're all about to see and all that sort of stuff, right? I think he would get torn apart for it. I think people are going easier on Gunn than they went on Zack. I actually agree with that. Okay? So perhaps that's part of it too, where you have this whole group of fans that are frustrated because it almost seems like Gunn is just getting a pass because he just made like a friendly, fun Superman. And yet, like, again, it's safe, it's sloppy, it has tonal problems. Like, there are certainly a lot of blemishes here. And so I can see how those fans would see that situation and be like, this isn't fair. You know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe it's not fair. Right? But I think the other thing about this, and I think this is really what it is, man, and some of you are not going to like it, but I just got to say it because this is just how I feel. This is what I think happened. I think Warner Brothers fucked this up. I think and by the way, this is nothing against any of these folks. I don't have anything personally against these folks, but I have to call it as sort of like a pundit. I have to just say what I think happened. I think courting Soups was a terrible idea. I think courting Koi was a terrible idea. I think the way that Warner Brothers hired influencers and tried to make this campaign about Superman an influencer circle jerk was a terrible mistake, which, by the way, I did try to sort of point to as we were going through it. I kind of continued to say, like, hey, nothing against these folks, but I don't think this is going to work. You know what I mean? Like, I just kept saying it. I was like, nothing against these guys. But Warner Brothers, people crave authenticity. You chose poorly. You crafted and curated the journalists that were invited to the initial reveal. You've curated the journalists that you want to do interviews with or work with. You've curated the social media kids that you have out there representing the movie and the brand, and it all sucked balls, and it all felt super inorganic. It was fucking terrible, and I think you've led the fandom to a place where they don't trust you. And in fact, you probably fucked it up so much that they don't even trust me, which is wild because I'm great. I'm great. You know, but they fucked it up so bad that you have people literally thinking that, like, Warner Brothers paid me. Yeah, fucking right. You know, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And man, when it really mattered for potentially the biggest movie of the studio's history, they dropped the ball in a really inauthentic, gross way. And so I think that ultimately, this divide, which again, we're not sure if it'll actually affect the box office. There's so much that's going on. It's kind of like hard to say. But the fact that, like, you know, it doesn't look all that great. I'd have to sit back and say, just like I can honestly give James Gunn a lot of credit for the actual film, I would also admonish him heavily for the culture he created around the DC Studios brand and with this project and the social media and the fact that he clapped at journalists and tried to take out leakers, which, by the way, like, we were right about your leaks for over a year. I mean, you lied publicly over and over again. Probably should have just said nothing, because something that happens when you lie a lot is, like, people don't really like or trust you anymore, right? So, you know, I would have to say, and a lot of people, for a lot of folks, this is an uncomfortable conversation. Maybe it's something they don't want to admit, or it's uncomfortable to realize that this might actually be what happened, but it's almost starting to look like that all the stuff that we sort of said, like, oh man, like that, like, why would you do that? Like, I'm talking about all the way back to, like, remember when Gunn brought everybody into his office and then they all popped off on social media in a different way? Like, I'm telling you, from basically the beginning, I think there were terrible decisions made that just further drove a wedge into the fandom and caused a lot of fractured opinions, a lot of perceptions of the fakeness of the studio. And I think that kind of has manifested in a pretty bad way. Now, part of this, to be fair to Gunn and Warner Brothers, there is the reality of Western fandom being a bit broken. And I think it is broken around some really obvious fault lines or some fractures, right? Like culture war, optics, you know, I think it's like obvious, right? What I guess I continue to be frustrated by is how the studios are unable to see in advance how certain things would divide or fall along those lines and be weaponized or used for content, et cetera, et cetera. Ultimately, it's still on the studio and the president as far as what do they put out there, not only initially, but then what do they put out there in response to the controversies or the things that, you know, rock the boat a bit with other fans. And I think what you see with Warner Brothers and DC, and specifically with Gunn, is sort of like putting blinders on to some of these problems and just saying like, no, that's just Snyder bots, or no, that's just toxic fans, or no, that's just ridiculousness. And I mean, it's to the point where Gunn actually takes shots at the whole idea in his film. But ironically, when you look at that part of the movie, it's so obvious that he's trying to say that it's not at all real. And that, I think, speaks to an ignorance of not only how real it is, but how it could actually affect your project and other fans as well. So, dude, it's a weird one, man. It's a weird situation. I've never experienced this before. And another thing too is like even the fan screenings. Like, dude, we talked about the fan screenings. You know, after I bought those tickets and fan screenings, I told you guys, I was like, I think I got fucking bamboozled here. I ended up having a great time, right? But what about all the people that didn't go to the fan screenings? I mean, isn't it obvious that a lot of those people would feel like these reviews are less authentic, or that there was something special? It's almost like a version of Access Media. It's almost like Warner Brothers saw an opportunity to double down on the Access Media claims that a lot of people have, and gave a whole nother way for folks to disregard all of the reviews that they were trying to put out there. You know what I mean? So, goddamn, dude, this has turned into something. And at the end of the day, man, like, especially if I had not seen the film, like, because I was thinking about this morning. I was like, so if I had not seen this movie, because on Monday, remember, there was a whole bunch of early social media reactions that came out. And even on Monday, I said, can we trust these reviews? You know, and we try to find people that we think were more authentic than others. And then there were some reviews, like you watch Brandon Davis's review, right? And like, I have nothing against Brandon Davis, but it's like, you know, basically what you're going to get there. And he didn't really deviate from what you thought he would say, right? And it's fine. It's not like that's bad or whatever, but it's not actually helping the movie. Do you see the difference? Like, they think it's helping the movie. It's not helping the movie. Like, I'm telling you right now, it is not helping the movie. So, wow. I don't know. I wanted to talk about this because, look, I saw Moist Critical make a video about this. I watched this video. I thought he had some pretty good takes in there, and it is wild, dude. And some of you might think, like, oh, you know, you're making this up. There's no fan war. I would just say, dude, I don't know what internet you're living on, but as somebody that, like, is actually participating in this conversation, I'm seeing a fuck ton of pushback. I'm seeing so many people mad. There's so many people saying that this is fake, that these are shills, this is Access Media, all that sort of stuff. And I think they have a fucking point, dude. I think they have a point. Now, you should ignore all of them and just listen to me, and I say the movie's good, and so you should all go out and see the film multiple times. But having said that, you're still right. You know what I mean? Like, you're still right about this situation. And ultimately, Warner Brothers fucked this up, dude. And we're going to see, because they might have fucked it up real bad. Whew. I don't know. What do you guys think, man? What do you make of that? Josh, can you prove you're not a bot? How would I do that? How does one even prove that they're not a bot? Nonsense debate with cultists. It's a huge success. The movie is good. Well, it is certainly not a huge success yet. I do think it is good, though. Jody, Corner, and Angry Joe is the biggest Superman fans YouTubers I know, and they didn't like the movie too much. They said it was mid. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that is true. I mean, look, if you were a person that hadn't seen the film, which is most of you, by the way, right? And you saw all these reviews, and you saw Angry Joe have that take, and you saw Jody have that take, and then you saw that even the people that love the movie say it's not good. You know what I mean? Or basically that it's not incredible. That's my take, is like, this shit ain't incredible, but I love it, right? If you saw all of that, yeah, of course there's going to be a part of you that's like, what the fuck is happening here? Everybody says it's not good, but everybody's giving it a fresh score. Do you know what I mean? Like, I totally understand it. I get where you guys are at. Like, there's probably a lot of people that are like, this is crazy. And then there's a lot of voices on YouTube that are saying it's really bad. And those voices, by the way, are not shy about saying it's all the shills that are, you know what I mean? So it's just like this really crazy, oh my God, one of those, you have no idea what you're doing. Now, it's not just you. Basically, none of the studios have any idea what they're doing with this social media thing, you know? But goddamn, y'all are fucking this up pretty good, I think. The Forbes review absolutely roasted it, called it a super generic mess. Yeah. There's a lot of, dude, but that's not the point. The point is, even the people that like it are talking about its flaws. That's pretty wild. Even the people that like it. Ibsy says, Josh, please tell us how much Mr. Goon paid you. So I'm not going to comment on that, but I will comment on this very expensive new Warhammer gravity tank that I have been able to purchase, and it's really expensive. So how much? Oh, it's pricey. I mean, it's that DC money pricey, you know what I mean? WDW Pro crew is ripping it apart with their takes. Oh, really? I thought he liked it. I haven't seen the movie, but I've never heard any Superman movie being perfect except Reeves 1 and 2. Yeah, fair. Yeah, it's 300 plus shipping, you know? Yeah, it's a gravity tank, dude. Oh, dude, it's so good. Oh, I can't wait to put it on the board and general it around and roll some dice and be like, okay, now my gravity tank's gonna shoot you. Bam! You know? Hey, Josh, this is unrelated, but I watched Troy, and it's a part of the Iliad, which is the part of the same series by Homer. But I wanted to know, how does it directly connect to the Odyssey, or is it a sequel? So I believe the Odyssey is the story of them coming back from the war, and then they get lost, right? I could be wrong about that, but I think that's what it is. Yeah. A gravity bong? No, but you actually roll better when you hit the gravity bong and then roll for your gravity tank. Yeah. And that's just science, you know what I mean? I don't have an opinion, you know what I mean? I think drugs are bad, but that's just science, man. Watch Paul's video about the Odyssey trailer? What? That seems a little out of nowhere. 300, does it have AI? No, but it has a swivel on the top where the gun moves around. Did you see that? Anyway. Ethan says, so if Superman flops and Supergirl and Clayface don't work, Warner Brothers probably just cancel DCU instead of selling it. Just go full-blown Batman again. Possibly. I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to see. Swivel is better than AI. It's true. I mean, a swivel will not become a neo-Nazi. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least I have never experienced that. I've never experienced a swivel that becomes radicalized and then the CEO has to step down. So swivels are good. Swivels are cool. 40 years of just Batman movies? Yeah, maybe. Could Magneto move Thor's hammer? I gotta know, Josh. I mean, it depends. You know what I mean? Depends. Have you ever broken an expensive Warhammer gaming piece? I have, but not seriously. I have had some pieces break and whatever, but none of my, like, really nice pieces, no. Man of Steel versus Superman. I mean, I like Man of Steel more, personally. I think Man of Steel is more of my kind of movie. It's a little bit more epic. I think it's more of a complete vision. But I like Superman. I love the new James Gunn Superman movie, and I want more of it and of that world, right? So that's my answer. All right, let's talk about the box office, man. Custodes Kush. Ooh, now you're talking, man. Now you're talking. Okay. So let's talk about the box office, chat. I gotta say, maybe we should go to the polls on this, but how about this? Why don't you just do me a favor here? If you think that if Superman loses money, they should pack it up and James Gunn should get a job at like Six Flags or something. Like, if you think that, put a 1 into the chat. I'm just curious. Do you think if this movie loses money, they should pack it up? Just put a 1 into the chat. Just curious. Okay. So we got some 1s in there for sure. So here's the deal. Superman box office. This has been almost as important as a topic. Goddamn, it's a lot of 1s. Holy. So this has been a topic that's almost as important as the quality of the movie. And I mean, it makes sense why. I mean, it's the first of this universe. And I got to say, I think the obvious answer that because we're going to get into like the minutia of all of this shit, right? But the ultimate answer is like, you would have wanted this movie to blow the fuck up. You would want this movie to hit like 800, 900 million, $1 billion. And I think earlier on in the year, even I thought the movie could perform at that level. Like, you know, first quarter of this year, whatever. I mean, you know, we heard that the trailer for the first Superman hit like 250 million views worldwide in 24 hours. That's fucking crazy, right? And so that's more than Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine makes 1.3 billion. Wow, like that. I was personally thinking it will make a shit ton of money, and I think the obvious answer is yeah. If it makes 8, 9, $1 billion, then this conversation is completely irrelevant. That is a smash hit, and I think at that point it would not lose money. So you wouldn't be losing money. You'd have one of these massive big movies. That would be great. Here's the problem. Where it currently stands with Superman, and I'll pull this statistic back up here. This is where it currently stands. This is Empire City Box Office, who has been pretty good with the projections, better than Box Office Theory, better than some of these other people that are out there. They had essentially said, and this was on July 7th, so this was 3 days ago. We'll go here. It says, make or break time for Superman the next 48 hours as sales remain somewhat stagnant over the busy 4th of July weekend and the general public needing to be enticed by reactions and reviews. The reaction embargo lifts at midnight. Okay, so this was before embargo. The 48 time period after the reviews were coming out were really, really important because it had been stagnant. Now, by the way, this is something that Jeff Snyder had reported. This was something that I believe Deadline had reported and had said that, like, some of these early projections are way off. It's a lot closer to 100 million domestic, and it's very soft overseas. And Jeff had said, I think last Friday, that sales had, like, really stalled out, okay? So, anyway, fast forward to, I believe, yesterday, where Empire City Box Office adjusted their numbers, saying the update, the floor has risen, but looking mostly like 110 to 120 3-day opener for Superman. Ticket sales accelerated somewhat after reviews, but nothing approaching the 130 to 170 million that others have put out. Now, let's be clear. This is all conjecture. This is just a projection. And on Monday, I might have to come out and be like, holy shit, it came in way past projections. Like, oh my fucking God, this movie's blowing up, right? But as it stands right now, what that probably means is you're looking at around a 200 million, probably like 220, 225 global box office take. Okay? I've seen some other people say that you could get to 450 worldwide, or rather 250 worldwide in the opening weekend. that would be incredible. Like, that would be great. However, if you just do some math here and you look at the trends of a lot of other comic book movies, which there's a couple of things going on with comic book movies right now. Number one, they're very front-loaded. Okay, don't forget, Quantumania opened at like 300 million and barely got to 5. Okay, because it was so front-loaded. And obviously, Quantumania was bullshit, terrible fucking movie, bad word of mouth, and got crushed because of that. But that's the pattern. Most of these movies are incredibly front-loaded. Okay? On top of that, Superman, unfortunately, only has 2 weeks, and then Fantastic Four comes out. And there's just no way around it. Fantastic Four is going to eat this movie's fucking lunch, dude. At least that's the way I'm seeing it. And that's even if Fantastic Four underperforms. So Fantastic Four could literally come around in week 3, like, you know, sort of lazily come into the picture, not even do that well, and it's still going to cut a huge chunk out of Superman's box office. I think that's just obvious, right? If you look at that and you look at this opening here, even if it opens at the high end of 250, the basic maximum projection right now that folks have is like $550 million. Okay? So let me just ask you this point blank, chat. If this movie makes only $550 million global, do you think that is a failure or not? Do you think 550 global take would be a failure? Yes or no? Rob says no. What up, Rob? So it's funny because there's still a mixed opinion on this. Do you see why this has been a difficult conversation? Why it's kind of like a tricky, there's just so many mixed opinions here, okay? So before I get into my thoughts on that, because I think that would be unfortunately a failure, let me describe the Goldilocks scenario here, okay? Because I have this in my notes here. This movie has surprised me at almost every turn. Sometimes in a bad way, but most of the time in a good way, okay? And the box office, or the Rotten Tomatoes scores surprised me. The audience scores surprised me. The movie itself surprised me. Okay, so this movie has been beating expectations of mine and surprising me personally a lot this week. So I want to give you a Goldilocks scenario. And if this happens, kudos to the film, and I think this would make a huge difference. Okay? Number one, this movie needs monumental box office walk-up business this weekend. This thing needs to get closer to 300. Period. It could, even if it gets like 270, 280, that's so much better, because when you're talking about percentages down the line of drop, those first big numbers matter so much, okay? So in a Goldilocks scenario, the reviews and the buzz and the hype drives an incredible amount of walk-up business this weekend, and you get closer to 300, okay? That is the beginning. That's the first thing that needs to happen. The second thing that needs to happen is that this movie needs to leg out in spite of Fantastic Four. Now, I'm going to be honest, both of these scenarios seem like almost next to impossible, but if Superman can hold on more than you would expect when Fantastic Four comes in, and then even into like what you're basically talking about is like Superman week 4, 5, 6 has to be surprisingly good, which we have seen with certain films. You know what I mean? So those are like the two factors. I also think if you had, and I don't really expect this either, but if you had a fall off that was like crazy small, like a 30-40% drop off from weekend 1 to weekend 2, that's also a possible way that it gets to like 6, 7, even potentially 8. Okay? So I think the first thing you need is you need this weekend to be surprisingly big. Second thing you'd need is an incredibly small drop off into week 2. And then you need surprising legs throughout the month, throughout like week 4, 5, and 6. if all of that happens in a Goldilocks scenario, this film could make more than Man of Steel, which I think is something that Gunn probably wants real bad, you know? And then maybe gets to like 700, 800 million. And dude, that would be, I think if this thing gets to 7, especially at this point, holy shit, it's a miracle. It's a Christmas miracle. And let's keep going with the DCU, right? But the next obvious question is, well, what do you think's actually going to happen? Okay? Man, I got to tell you guys, I just if you're asking me honestly, how do I think it's going to go? I think it gets to 550. I think it gets to 550. Maybe a little bit higher than that, but I think that's where it lands. And I think you would be justified, and it would make sense, and like I totally get where folks would be at if they would say that's a failure, and if they would say not good enough, and all of that sort of stuff. But I will just tell you honestly, I think Warner Brothers will be satisfied with 550. I don't know what it means for the Batman. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it means for the Batman, because I think Reeves is waiting. And if you're Matt Reeves, are you really going to sign up for James Gunn's shit if his big Superman movie that they paid $250 million to promote can't even get to where your Batman movie got to? Like, are you really going to say, oh, yeah, let's team up? You know what I mean? So I think the 550 number probably does make... It does affect the universe in a negative way, but I don't think it ends it. And in a way, it's like... That's kind of interesting, because I think Warner Brothers and DC would probably have more leverage over Gunn at that point, and probably push more in the direction of like spectacle and action, and potentially even like a hard edge on the thing. So we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see. But I mean, that is what I see out there in the numbers, guys. And I guess the last thing I'll say on this is like, it does kind of surprise me. I mean, I've been shocked over and over this year. Brave New World's box office shocked me. I don't like the movie, but the box office still shocked me. Like the fact that Quantumania and Love and Thunder made more than that movie, I don't understand. But whatever. Thunderbolts shocked me. Brother, Thunderbolts is an incredible film. It lost $100 million in the box office. So would Superman make it 550 shock me? Yes. Would it shock me as much as maybe it would if I hadn't watched all these other movies underperform? No. What does it mean for the space? I don't know. All of a sudden, if that's the reality, all of a sudden what Fantastic Four does is like way more relevant. You know, like if Fantastic Four does really, really well, that makes Superman look even worse. Like if Fantastic Four gets to $1 billion, which I don't really see happening, I think maybe it does 6 or 7. Like actually does 6 or 7. But if Fantastic Four somehow like does $1 billion, then maybe like for real, then maybe Warner Brothers is like, I don't know about this James Gunn motherfucker. Do you know what I mean? Like legitimately, if I were Zaslav and the Superman movie couldn't at least compete with the Fantastic Four movie, I'd be like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know? So that's kind of an interesting element for it as well. So I don't really know. I will say this, though. Gunn himself has been on record saying that if the movie doesn't do well, there won't be other movies. He said that on like the Josh Horowitz podcast. Now, he kind of walked that back a bit, where like 2 weeks ago he said like it doesn't need to get to 700 million, which is weird because it kind of means like Warner Brothers looked at the numbers and they were like, this shit ain't hitting 700. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it was probably wise to sort of adjust expectations, right? Yeah, I don't know. This is tough. It's a tough situation, guys. But yeah, what do you think about it? What do you think's going on? What do you think it'll hit? What do you make of this? What do you think DC should do? How should Warner Brothers respond to this? What do you guys think? Pretty sure Gunn signed a 2 to 4 year contract. He'll get fired. Yeah, unless his contract has been extended. I think his contract is up sometime this year. Let's talk. Rob, I cannot talk today, brother. I'm sorry. I got an appointment. I've got so many different topics. I cannot. No Rob call today. Sorry, brother. Maybe I'm over optimistic, but I think both will do much better than projected. I mean, maybe, but even if they do better than projected, like, it would have, in order to get to some of the numbers that I think we want, it would have to overperform by like 30 or 40%. Do you know what I mean? That is not just doing better than projections. That is like wildly overperforming projections, which I guess is technically possible. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, even so there's another element to this that's kind of weird, right? There's another element to this that's weird, and that's that Hollywood itself is gaslighting us. Like, I basically just don't know how else to say it. Hollywood is gaslighting us constantly because I think there's a lot of fear in that town of like losing the relevancy of these movies in Hollywood in general. So like almost every weekend you get Hollywood trade reporters saying like something really positive about the box office. I mean, for instance, let's talk about this. How many of you guys think the F1 movie from Apple is like a success? Right? I would imagine if you're not paying too close of attention, you probably think F1 with Brad Pitt is like a big success, right? No, it's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. That movie cost $250 million on the books. Yeah, so that's what I mean, is like we are literally being gaslit every week by Hollywood because they're like, they just don't want us to basically admit, and they I think what it is really is they don't want us to be talking about every week how irrelevant they're becoming. You know what I mean? And it is weird. I mean, even me, who's like, I'm not a big Hollywood guy. Like, I say, fuck them. You know what I mean? I don't even like Hollywood. But even me, I'm like, damn, this is weird. Like, this is weird. Like, things are changing. Things are changing fast. But at the same time, there's stuff like Minecraft, right? There's stuff like Lilo and Stitch. And so it's like, it's not like there's no movies making money. It's just almost all the movies you think are going to make money are not making money. And a lot of the movies Hollywood is trying to make you think are a big success. Like, how many of you guys think the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie was a big hit? Because it's not. You know what I mean? Like but then again, it's like, I don't know what to say exactly, because when everything is underperforming, it's not technically everything, but like when most things are underperforming, how do I judge it? Should I judge in an isolated, like, so if you didn't have any context for how the box office was going this year, and you said the Superman movie is going to make $550 million worldwide, if you just heard that number, I think you would very obviously say that is bad. You know what I mean? But is it? Is it as bad when you consider the context? I don't know. You know, specifically with Gunn, I have this thought with Superman, right? And I spoke to this a little bit last night on stream. Some people will say, and I think there's a lot of people that have this attitude out there, that James Gunn got unlucky, right? And that he was creating a movie, and at the time of creating this film, the industry was changing around him. And that's unfortunate because they spent this money, almost made the film when things were different. The industry changes so much in the time that he gets the job, makes the film, etc. How unlucky is James Gunn that now this big movie with this huge price tag is going out into a marketplace that is very different. But it is possible that it's the opposite of that. It's actually possible that James Gunn got very lucky. because it's possible this movie would always underperform. I mean, you look at Gunn's box office outside of the Guardian stuff, right? And it is like bad, like very bad. Well, I shouldn't say bad. It's low. It's very low. So maybe Gunn's Superman was actually always going to kind of perform middle of the road. And maybe Gunn got lucky because now he can claim all of this stuff, like the environment, Hollywood changing, the online toxicity. He can put all these asterisks next to Superman, and he doesn't get judged as harshly for it. Right? So it is definitely a weird time to be, covering these movies and to be thinking about like the future of this kind of entertainment and all of this sort of stuff. And again, it's just like, I don't know what I would even do if I were Warner Brothers, because it does kind of feel like the party's ending. Like the lights are coming on, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, it is fascinating. It is interesting. And I can't wait to see what happens with the movie's actual box office. And then obviously Fantastic Four, like that's going to be very telling. The next 3 weeks are going to be incredibly telling. When it comes to the box office. Okay, let's get into a couple other things here. I want to talk about the Fantastic Four, baby. I want to talk about the Fantastic Four. Did you guys know that there was a mutation that happened on the 7th chromosome of the human genome around 200,000 years ago, and without that mutation, we wouldn't be able to sing? It's kind of crazy. All right, anyway. So Fantastic Four is a movie. It's coming out soon. And recently, 30 minutes of footage, a big old chunk of the film was shown to different audiences around the world, and they have reacted to it. And so I want to break that down. I want to go over the reactions, talk about it. But then also, there's something very important about what was seen, and it was the fact that Reed Richards is still the leader of the Fantastic Four. I know a lot of you guys were worried about that. A lot of people were like, they're going to MCU girl boss Sue Storm. If you were personally worried about that, throw a 1 into the chat. Just out of curiosity, let us know. Because I will be breaking down why you have nothing to worry about. Chill out. Chill out, little babies. All right, here we go. Early Fantastic Four First Steps reviews reveal who's really at the center of the story and who is running the show. Okay, hang on. Wrong one. Early reactions revealed for the Marvel's Fantastic Four setup after 30-minute fan screening event. That's the right one. Everybody chill out. And also, let me adjust this better. Warning, this post contains spoilers for Marvel's Fantastic Four. Okay, spoilers here. I don't think it's going to be too much, guys, but yeah, technically spoilers here. The first 30 minutes of Marvel's The Fantastic Four First Steps were screened at a fan event in Brazil. Following the screening, early reactions to the screen's scenes have been revealed. The plot appears to revolve around Sue and Franklin Richards. Several villains show up, with others being referenced. Ben and Johnny also make a strong impression. So we're going to go over some of the things that were revealed in the 30 minutes. This is coming from ex-user Joseph Quinn Brazil. Shared details about 30 minutes here. So here we go. Buckle up your buttholes. Are you excited, chat? Here we go. Okay, first up. Pedro Pascal and Sue share plenty of screen time. Aw. Oh, that's nice. Reed's stretching powers look amazing in the film. That's awesome. And by the way, I agree. Just from what we've seen in the trailers, I've kind of gushed about it, but I really love the attention to detail in the power sets. I mean, Sue's powers look realistic in the way that they reflect the light, and it's like, whoa, it's so mind-blowing. The rocks on Ben look like legit to me. Johnny's flame powers have literally never looked better, and they've done a bunch of versions of that. But Reed is somewhat of a standout because a lot of the other Reeds and other stretchy characters, they make them look so, like, floaty and like they're made of rubber, and that's not what's going on with Reed. So I really respect what they've done with the powers, the way that the inertia feels real, that he like can stretch, but then it feels like there's a snapback. It's pretty good. The plot seems to focus on Sue and Franklin. Okay, that's interesting. Reed takes the lead and makes most of the team's decision. Now, again, we're going to talk about this in a little bit here, but this was multiple folks. It wasn't just this guy, but people were saying in the scenes, Reed is the one that is calling the shots. And I know a lot of you were worried about that. Technically, I was a little bit worried about this. It's not that Sue couldn't have an insight. It's not that Sue is not a brilliant person. It's the fact that Reed is the smartest person in the universe. So there's a unique quality. And if you're not going to listen to the smartest person in the universe, then I don't know what the fuck we're doing here, right? So it's actually great to hear that Reed takes the lead and makes most of the team's decisions. That's good. Ben and Johnny have a strong impression. That absolutely makes sense. These two characters seem great together. Shia LaBeouf's action scenes are absolutely wild. And that is obviously true as well. And dude, I'll show you this too, because every time they show one of these new trailers and you get a little shot of the action with the Silver Surfer, every single time I see one of these scenes, I shout that it should have been Norrin Rad. And then after I get that out of my system, I gush about how good it looks. Look at this shit, man. I'm going to pull this up for y'all. You gotta see. Wait, what? How can I not? I can't make it bigger? What the fuck? Do you see this shit, dude? Like the fidelity of this scene. My God, this is going to be a ride. This is going to be a ride. Okay, anyway, let's get back into the thing here. There's a lot of action with everybody showing off their powers. That's awesome. Each character appeared to have a clear personality arc. That's good. The visuals are immersive and there's full of detail. Several villains appear, with others being referenced. By the way, there was this weird thing that happened where John Malkovich was not in one of the press releases, and a lot of people were like, oh my God, they took him out of the film. There was another press release, and he's in that one. I'm pretty sure he's still in the movie. As I said before, I believe there's a thing in that scene with Malkovich when he's fighting the apes. There's like that, it's like almost like a rod or whatever. Like, I think that's actually important to that scene and also to when they defeat Galactus. So I think that scene is important. I had trouble imagining that they would have cut it, but apparently it's still in there. Let's see here. The CGI is top notch. That makes sense, dude. We have seen the CGI and it looks absolutely fucking incredible. So a lot of really, really positive stuff coming out from that Fantastic Four. But let's linger a bit on this because I know it's something that you guys really care about. Early Fantastic Four reviews reveal who's really at the center of the story and who's running the show. The Fantastic Four are officially joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and early reactions are starting to reveal what fans can expect from the film. While the movie doesn't come out until July 25th, 2025, some early reviews have already popped up online, and they're giving fans a peek at who's really taking center stage in the story. According to social media Fantastic Richie, the film puts a strong focus on Sue Storm and her son, Franklin. Even though all 4 team members are in the spotlight, it sounds like Sue and Franklin are at the heart of the story, which makes sense, especially considering what we know about Franklin Richards, his crazy power, Galactus, what Galactus wants, all that sort of stuff. So all that makes sense. Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal, is reportedly the one making most of the big decisions in the film. But it's Sue and her son who seem to carry much of the emotional weight. That sounds right to me. You know, that actually sounds good. Reed and Sue are said to share a lot of scenes together, which has sparked early excitement among longtime fans of the duo. As for Reed's famous stretching powers, early reports say Marvel is keeping that under wraps. Reed's powers are being hidden in the trailers, one of the sources claimed, possibly hinting at a dramatic reveal in the film. Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm also get their time to shine, especially in the film's first 30 minutes. The CGI and the sequences are reportedly phenomenal, helping to bring the characters and the world around them to life in a way that fans haven't seen before. The movie is set in a retro-futuristic version of the 1960s, with the team facing off against none other than Galactus, Cosmic Threat, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so a bunch of SEO fill at the end of the article. But the main point here, the main takeaway, is that the first 30 minutes are being reviewed very favorably. And the one takeaway that I think is important to the conversation around the film is the heart of the movie is Sue and her son. And yet it does seem like Reed is going to be the one making the decisions in the film. And I think, you know, to linger on this for a little bit here. Oh, I can't do this. I have more notes. I can't throw that away. To linger on this for just a moment here, guys. I think it definitely matters, you know, and, you know, we can go through this whole conversation again where some of you are like, it doesn't matter. The people that care about this are lame or whatever, but they exist. You know they exist because you made it your nightly duty to fight against them on social media since 2016. So you know they exist. I'm just so sick of having to have these little fights and these arguments and this bullshit. And I'm literally at a point, like, I'm not even trying to hide it. This is just the take. This is where I am at. Placate. Just give them what they want, because I don't care enough about the integrity of the messaging in a Hollywood movie to allow the discourse to degenerate into the place that it has, and to allow these films and these characters and the things that I care about to be dragged down into the pits of hell of conversation. I do not care enough about what you think matters, Hollywood. Go fuck yourself. So please, for the love of God, stop doing this. Stop putting this in movies. And, you know, there's a conversation every single time one of these things comes out. Anytime one of these issues is addressed in any meaningful way, there's always a conversation about it. And people are going to feel differently, and people are going to have their opinions. Ultimately, it's nice for me to hear that Reed is actually calling the shots in the film. And I, as silly and as stupid as it sounds, that's going to actually push some people to be more accepting of the film, right? And it's because they're actually having sort of a reaction to what they perceive as like this messaging, this threat, this inorganic, inauthentic thing, propaganda, whatever you want to call it. It's so obviously a super big deal for a lot of people. And all of these studios are like trying to figure this out right now. They're like, how do we please the fans? And fandom itself seems so divided and so toxic and so crazy. But I think that if all of your focus is on that, you're failing to see that there are projects and movies that are actually able to succeed at a very high level. And part of how they do this is they actually avoid conversations about the messaging. One example that comes to mind is Barbie. So Barbie was, I think, like, you know, and so maybe you'll be mad that I use this word or whatever, but I think Barbie's an incredibly woke movie. Like, I think Barbie has all sorts of ideological messaging within its plot, but it wasn't in any of the trailers. There was a mandate for all of the stars. We heard about this. This came out in the Hollywood trades later on. All of the stars of Barbie were told specifically to not discuss the messaging of the film while they were out promoting the film. And I think that is so obviously the right move. It is so obviously the right thing to do. And I was like really hoping that Marvel would just give us a little bit more of a proper Reed Richards and not try to make him take a backseat to Sue, not try to make this, I don't know, some weird, like, let's make up for all the patriarchal stuff that we've done over the last 50 years or whatever the motivation was. I'm so glad that it seems like they have not actually done that. Whew. Sigh of relief. And at the same time, all the shit about the movie seems fucking awesome, dude. This is a film where, like, unlike Superman, which I had a lot of, like, back and forth moments on, and I was truly just not sure how it was going to hit me. The Fantastic Four movie seems like it is going to be right up my alley. Like, right up there. You know what I mean? Like, right up nicely in my alley, you know? I am very excited for this movie. It seems to have all the trappings that I like. The design, the aesthetic, the visuals, the action, the characters, dude. Johnny has completely won me over. Sue seems awesome. Very protective. Super mom. I can't wait to see it. Even Pedro has won me over in a lot of the scenes that you see. He just seems like they figured it out. And it's also possible that this was not something they figured out right away, because we've also heard that, like, they told Pedro to dial back the accent a bit. He was going a little bit too much like, look here, see, you know, and they had to dial it back. That's all part of finding the performance, finding the film. But I'm excited, man. I'm really excited for this thing. I predict Fantastic Four is going to do very well, and I predict I will love it. I'm actually kind of hoping it'll be in my top 5, but I'm also trying not to do that thing where I get too hyped up and I build like a perfect version of the movie in my head. But at the same time, I don't know if I can help myself. Like, I'm really excited for Fantastic Four, and I really think it's gonna fucking nail it. So there's the report, guys. What do you think? What do you think? I know everybody's got a thought. Everybody's got an opinion. Let's see here. Just felt like riding. Says, your review of Superman has me wanting to check it out, knowing how you raged over the monkey chat. LMAO, no Avengers for life. Yeah, appreciate you. Spoiler review will probably go up later today. I would highly recommend checking it out because I go into all the stuff in the movie. But yeah, I like the film. Bro, you said Thunderbolts was incredible. Your perception is clearly different. Different from what? Thunderbolts is incredible. Do you not like it? It's really good, dude. Fantasy 4 looks good. I have tickets for opening night fan event in 3D. Wait, there's a fan event for that too? What? I want to go to the fan event. I want to go early. I'm sick of going with all of you plebs on Thursdays. This week I went on Tuesday. It was incredible, man. Access Media shill checks all the way. Why do you think I gave it such a high score? I didn't have to sit with y'all. Anyway, I'm seeing it on the 22nd at a fan premiere event thing. What? Jesus. Okay, I want to do that. Thunderbolts was a 7. That good, though. Everything is mid now. Well, okay. All right. So you liked it. Jesus. You guys are so wild, man, on the internet. You guys are so wild. Coming in so hot. But you like Thunderbolts. What do you mean by that? I liked it too. 7 out of 10. Oh, okay, bud. Jeez. Okay. Anyway, there's a couple other things we gotta get into. Does anybody have any thoughts about Sue Storm wokeness? You want to get it out of your system. Get it out of your system. The fight 15 minutes into Thunderbolts was worth it. Dude, Thunderbolts is lit. I'm sorry. Thunderbolts is awesome. It bombed, though. MCU. Okay, great. You know, I appreciate it. Just get it out of your system. You know what I mean? Just, it's all good. This is a safe space. Sue Be Hot says Savage Eagle 35. You're not wrong, brother. You're not wrong about that. People think 7 is bad. Weird maths. Yep. Mm-hmm. Thunderbolts slightly above mid. Oh boy, here we go. It's all good. The movie will be great. MCU, great place to jump into the stream. Welcome, Austin. Welcome on in, brother. Henny Boo Boo says, when do you come on stream with gun hair? Nerd Adventures for Life. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, you'd have to show me a clip. Show me the tape. Show me the tape where I said it. Den of Jiggle Physics? What the fuck? Nah, missed me with the Thunderbolts hype. It was trash. What? I'm pretty sure you're the same guy that just literally said it was 7 out of 10. What is happening? What is happening, man? Someone super chat Josh Gunn. I'm broke, says Armani Martinez. Okay, appreciate you. There you go. Thunderbolts 8 out of 5 or 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, it is. I think it's that good for sure. I hope it's not Girl Boss Sue. I hope it's great. Yeah. Did you just get in here, or did you hear the whole thing we just... He been bitching about it all stream, Josh? Oh, okay. Well, at least he's consistent, I guess, yeah. Sue or Shala, I could handle both of them at the same time. You know what I mean? We all have our talents. So... how do we see her being sick if it isn't Girl Boss Sue? What? Any other topics? Oh, we got some topics, baby. We got some topics. Don't you worry. Still feel confident about the 500? Yeah, I feel more confident than ever. Yeah. Oh, Fantastic Four is making more money than this movie. I mean, unless... So here's one thing I'll say about Fantastic Four. The projections are going to start coming out this weekend for Fantastic Four. Okay? The only piece of data we have so far that's actually encouraging is that same account that we just talked about earlier in the stream. Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. This same account here was reporting that the Fantastic Four pre-sales have been surprisingly strong even as Superman is coming out. Projections officially will come out this weekend, but the activity of Fantastic Four ticket sales during the time when Superman was actually doing pre-sales and like pushing with the, you know, the reviews and all that were surprising. People are saying for sure over 100 milli, and I expect the projections to actually be much higher. And when I say much higher, like I'm really saying like 150-ish. I think Superman will probably open to like 120, 125 domestic. I think Fantastic Four will open at like 140, 150. They're not, like, neither one of them is going to blow up. Neither one of them is going to set the world on fire. But I'm very confident. I mean, especially with the numbers we're looking at today. I don't know. Superman is not crushing it. So, yeah. Okay, a couple other things we want to talk about. We just got over the Fantastic Four stuff. So I want to talk about this thing that both James Gunn said and David Corenswet said, because now that I've seen the movie, I can actually help to explain this a little bit more. I didn't quite know what they were trying to get at. And what I'm talking about is the canon for the DCU. Okay? And both Gunn and Corenswet have said that the canon of the DCU is a lot more like Star Wars than it is the MCU, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, okay? And man, oh man, did these comments just crystallize after I saw the movie. So let me kind of explain what it is. So in Marvel, right, you kind of have Iron Man, which establishes the character, but also the world. And it's not that there weren't characters obviously existing before that. In fact, the third or fourth movie later is a period piece Captain America movie, which happens like literally about 100 years before Iron Man, okay? But Iron Man is the catalyst for the universe. And all of the events from Iron Man are then later expanded on and explored as you tell this sort of interwoven story. And it's like, here's the next piece, here's the next piece, here's the next piece. And all of the things established and set up in the first movie kind of lead into the other one, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of how the MCU does it. Star Wars, and I think especially when it comes to the original trilogy, the way that Star Wars would do it is like you come in to the Star Wars world and like, bro, you're literally in the middle of a rebellion that is trying to get plans for a Imperial base to some other rebel group out there. There's a senator on board. There's a Darth Lord of the Sith. All of these stormtroopers, and there's obviously like some major conflict. But you don't know shit about that until you then get further down the line and they're actually showing you the Senate, the senators, and the prequels really fills that out, okay? Similarly, you had the character of Jabba the Hutt. You had the character of Boba Fett. You have, Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Clone Wars are referenced. Luke's father is referenced. There's all sorts of stuff, but you don't just get a direct explanation of it in the next one. Star Wars introduces you to a living, breathing world, and then through comics, novels, shows, and ultimately movies, we explore different eras and we recontextualize what has come before. That's how Star Wars does it. Okay? So when I heard this when I heard this concept that Gunn said and then David said, I was like, whoa, like, what does that actually mean? Now, having seen the movie, like, let me kind of explain it. And I'm not going to give any spoilers here, or at least I'm going to try not to. But I think that this will be good. So, you guys know from the trailers that the Justice Gang is a thing. The Hall of Justice exists. But they are not the Justice League. They're the Justice Gang. And they seemingly only have 3 members. They're bankrolled by Maxwell Lord. And the question becomes, like, just like in the sense of Star Wars, like, you're introduced to that, right? Who knows if the next movie is going to tell you anything about the Justice League? But there probably will be a project, whether it's like a comic or a video game, because remember, Gunn was like, we want it all to be connected, right? Whether it's a video game or an art book. I know that seems silly, but Star Wars, dude, there's been so much shit that was revealed in little art books or little encyclopedias and shit like that. Like, it might actually be the case that some encyclopedia thing comes out for the DCU, and it explains to us when the Lanterns first came to Earth, who was the first Lantern, how do they keep their jobs, and then how does Guy Gardner get the gig for the Justice Gang? Maybe there was another group, like maybe there was a Justice League. Maybe there's never been a Justice League yet. We don't really know. The movie leaves it completely open-ended, okay? There's another moment in the film where one of the characters is like taken out of the movie but goes into like another dimension, and I was thinking in my head, oh, that's going to come back into play much later. That's going to be really interesting, and I could kind of see the thread that they're building there. There's stuff like obviously we know Supergirl is coming, but there's a lot of things that don't make sense if you think about Supergirl's comic book origin. Essentially, knowing what you will know after you see the film, for sure, her DCU thing has to be completely different. Like, she cannot have her comic book origin and have it make sense in the film. So that's kind of interesting. We know that Superman has been active for about 3 years. We know he's faced certain other villains and certain other threats before. But we don't know if the Sinestro Corps is even a thing. We don't know if there's been, like, Necron and the Black Lanterns. We don't know if there's been a crisis in a different universe and alternate beings are coming, into that universe. We don't know what Themyscira and the old gods and even the new gods, we don't know what any of that looks like in this universe. The Superman movie sets up a lot of interesting things, but the thing it does mostly is just gives you a clean slate on so many different things. So many different aspects of the DC universe are to be explored, and the film itself does not explain a lot of like the wider context for the thing. Now, for me, I was thinking about this and I was like, this is kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of cool. And I hope that the canon really matters. I'm a little bit of a stickler for canon, so I like canon, and I like when it really matters. And there's an element here that separates it from Star Wars where, when Star Wars was first being created, they didn't have all the comics. They didn't have all that stuff. Like, that comes later. And now Disney technically has access to it, right? But George, like, really didn't. He was just doing his thing and, like, showing you a little bit more of the story here and there, right? The DCU is in a different position because there's so much DC lore that's already established. So, like, for instance, Lex is a character that's established. Superman's a character, the Justice League, the Lanterns, Oa, the Guardians, the Source Wall, the Emotional Spectrum, the Kryptonians, Brainiac. Bro, there's a lot of stuff that's established, the League of Shadows, like, dude, there's so much that could be going on via just this new DC world. And we're just like not sure how it all fits together. I like looking at the comic book stuff and then looking at Gunn's stuff and being like, okay, so like, how could this actually fit together? You know what I mean? So I wanted to bring that up just to kind of explain it, but also I wonder if you think that'll work. Like, do you think that'll be exciting for folks? Because it certainly has me interested, but there is a bit of a cop-out here where, like, there's so little that they're explaining that it feels like they literally just don't know. You know what I mean? Because, like, there was this moment on the press tour where they were talking about, like, Batman and shit, and David made a comment where he was like, oh, if he found out there was a guy in a bat suit or something like that, like, dude, he's going to go check that out. And then Gunn said, well, we don't know if he's already met Batman or not. And that's like, wait, what? Like, do you not know? Or do you just not know if you want to tell anybody, right? So I'm curious. You know, I'm curious. I think there's potentially a lot of excitement there. But, yeah, I don't know. Bro, it's the first movie. You are correct. It is the first movie. All I hear is a ton of excuses why the film is critically acclaimed and why audiences are eating it up. Okay, well, something wrong with your ears. You know, check them out for wax or, you know, being a dumbass. But appreciate it. Thank you. Lean heavy on the cosmic side of DC. I think that would be cool. I think DC has some really cool cosmic characters, for sure. I loved Superman. It was better than even I was expecting, says RG. Oh, damn. I think I can say 1,000% we're getting a gray suit Batman. Oh, that would be fun. Maybe gray and blue. Gray and blue would be cool, man, for sure. At least the stuff we know that loose ends have follow-up projects. That's true. So there's a line at the movie, which I want to expand on this. After I see it again, I want to expand on this. And then maybe actually, I was thinking about hitting Rob up if he's not too mad at me for this morning. But I was going to hit Rob up and be like, dude, do you want, after you see Superman, do you want to do a stream where we try to figure out the DCU? Because Rob knows a shit ton about DC, right? And so, like, it could be a good stream where I'd be like, okay, so what do you think's going on with the Lanterns? You know? Because, like, Hal's the first one, right? But Hal's much older. I mean, Guy seems much older. It seems like, you know, Aaron Pierre is younger. So he seems like the new recruit. Jon Stewart, the new recruit. But, like, what do you think the Lanterns have been through so far? Right? Like, have they experienced the Sinestro Corps? Did Hal have his Parallax moment? You know? Will it be a spoiler stream? Yeah, it would be a spoiler stream, obviously. But it wouldn't happen until after everybody's seen the film or whatever. But, yeah, I think that could be cool. Because there is stuff I'm interested in. There's stuff I'm kind of excited to see where they go. How's that world going to respond? You know, how does the Justice Gang become the Justice League? Like, that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure. Alan Scott was the original Green Lantern. He is the original Green Lantern, but he was not recruited by Oa. So Hal is the first Green Lantern recruited by a ring and is officially sanctioned through Oa. From what I understand, Alan Scott, didn't he not even have a... There was something different about his ring and his lantern, and I kind of forget now. But, yeah, he was never, like, officially an Owen lantern until maybe much later. There were rumors that Alan Scott was going to be involved in this series as well, which would be really cool. I like Alan Scott. His weakness is wood. Yes, that was a thing. So was the yellow, and yeah, but yeah. Don't worry, Superman will be on Max after 2 months and that 500 million box office. I mean, maybe, maybe we'll see. Have you seen the Say That Again commercial? What, for Fantastic Four? Yeah, I've seen that. Terrence says, just got here. How are we feeling about Superman versus FF now that you saw it? That 500 still locked in? Yeah, so, I mean, I liked Superman more than I expected, right? I still am anticipating to like Fantastic Four more. Like, Fantastic Four looks like it's, like, the perfect movie for me. Like, dude, it looks so good. But I think the reality is both movies are probably going to be somewhat light. Superman looks like it's going to have trouble getting to 550. I think Fantastic Four gets to 6 pretty easily. Those are my thoughts. I could be wrong, but that's like, I'm kind of seeing that in the data. Would love to be wrong, though. I'd love for both movies to do so well. But it just kind of seems like we're in a bit of a tough spot there, yeah. 500, 750 tops for both. Yeah, and I think at this point, 750 seems like a fucking miracle, dude. 750 for Superman would seem ridiculously good at this point. So, Alan's weakness is twinks. Maybe. Gonna drive in for Superman F1 double feature with the wife tomorrow. Oh shit, F1. What about F4? It's not even out yet. What's not out yet? Superman? Shit, I seen it. Let's go full spoilers. Okay, couple other things we got to get into, guys. Couple other things we got to get into, you freaking buttholes. Should we talk about the Doomsday leak? Should we talk about the absolutely fucking insane Doomsday leak that you guys are definitely not ready for? Should we talk about Superman gonna be $2 billion? Maybe if they restore the Snyderverse. Oh, by the way, Charlie's take on that is absolutely correct. Like, they are not doing that. Just so you guys know, they're not doing that. Just so you know. Okay, Avengers Doomsday. It's a movie. It's coming out at some point next year. And in all seriousness, obviously, it's a big freaking deal, man. And we've been following along with all the leaks and the rumors for this film. And so why stop now? Marvel's Avengers Doomsday major plot details revealed. Warning. Post contains potential spoilers from Marvel's Avengers Doomsday. Marvel's Avengers Doomsday new plot details reveal how Earth 616 comes face to face with the Earth 1005 X-Men universe as Shuri discovers the incursion and alerts the Avengers. Hang on a second. Did we already go over this? What the fuck? I feel like we already went over this. I thought there was a new one. Hang on now. Thunderbolts, Reed Richards, kidnapped his son. Shuri Sam. Yeah, we've literally read this. What the fuck? I thought there was a new one. Let me see here. I mean, I guess this is kind of a leak here. This isn't anything new, dude. I thought there was a thing where they said, the thing was fighting somebody? Hang on a second. What the fuck? Did I screw this up? Hang on, let me check this out. Insane new movie leak. What? Okay. Adapt Damnation. We'll talk about that. Jackie Kennedy. Early reviews Fantastic Four. We already talked about that. James Gunn. Blah, blah, blah. Diamondback. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Huh. I swear to God, I saw one. Oh, shit. Okay. Okay, I found it. Okay, this is crazy. This is crazy. Okay, I found it. So, let me just double check one thing here. So, does this go to that same article here? Shuri. Okay, okay. Oh, man. Okay. So, this leak here is, let's just say, highly suspect, okay? Now, this is going on in a Reddit And it is in response to a leaked article that we already talked about. Maybe it was last week. We talked about how Shuri was going to discover the incursion. There was going to be a set of Avengers, including some of the Fantastic Four, that go into the X-Men universe with America Chavez. They have a fight that then leads to going to the Void, and then maybe with Loki. Spider-Man stays behind, and there's a big fight on Earth with some of the other characters. So this caught my attention. And this user here had reported most of this tracks with what somebody who has worked on the movie told me. I won't say which department they work on, but they told me. And with the biggest grain of salt you can find, we are now going to go over this, okay? So, big part of the plot is that Doom has kidnapped Franklin and takes him to another universe. That tracks. Nothing too crazy there. We know more or less that is probably real. Earth 616 and the X-Men universe characters fight, although it's pretty much widely known. Anyway, that's also true. There is a fight scene between Shang-Chi and Beast. Dude, that seems cool. I would be very interested to see a fight between Shang-Chi and Beast. Beast is a literal beast. Shang-Chi, great martial artist. That's a fun combination, okay? That's cool. Mentioned there might be 2 Yelenas in the movie. That is kind of weird, but also potentially tracks multiple Yelenas in the film. Interesting. This is where it gets a little wild. Tobey Maguire is in the movie. Not sure how big of a role, but they said they were definitely in the beginning of the movie in some capacity at least. Wait, what? Now, hang on a second. I thought Tobey wasn't going to be in this thing until maybe Secret Wars. That's kind of interesting there, okay? Tobey in the film. Couple of different options here. Potentially, Tobey was the Spider-Man in the X-Men universe, although I don't really think that's what it is. More likely, Tobey is in the 3rd act. So we were just talking about this. There's like a lot of reports that like the 3rd act's being changed and they don't have a completed script and all that sort of stuff, which this report also corroborates. However, the 3rd act is said to potentially take place either in the TVA on the Void or where Loki is at. And in that scenario, you could have Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Tobey could be there via the TVA. Tobey could be there because of the Void. And we even thought like, oh man, wouldn't it be fucking crazy if there was a sort of Secret Wars-esque kind of a fight in the Void at the end of the film, where you have multiversal Avengers trying to stop Doctor Doom. Because, like, one of the current rumors, right? One of the current, like, rumor threads is that Doctor Doom is really pitting the Avengers and the X-Men against each other because he's actually trying to weaken them both. He wants to weaken both teams and potentially take big, powerful members out of the picture in order to not have them unify against him and stop him at the end of time. That's like a rumor, okay? So potentially that's where Tobey comes in. But another place that Tobey could come in that I think would be so freaking cool, because remember, now Spider-Man completely disconnected from this. Spider-Man 4 takes place before Avengers Doomsday, so it is no longer a Battleworld movie. It is no longer going to connect to Doomsday in that way. So Spider-Man 4 is just going to be a movie, and then Doomsday, which we just saw Spider-Man playing like pickleball with Shang-Chi. Kind of seems like Tom Holland is maybe filming on Doomsday right now, which is kind of wild. But I say all that to say, like, one of the new leaked shots that just came out, remember we talked about this yesterday? It's when they're on, it's like all blue screen, John Walker, Falcon, the Thing, they were all there in that ship. It's possible that ship is one of the rafts from Hickman's stuff, and it's possible that some of the characters are going to survive the collapse of the multiverse and enter into Doom's new universe via the raft. Okay? So maybe Toby is on the raft as well. Maybe Toby is from the Multiversal Avengers, and he's there to try to help those people get in the raft, survive the end of this, and then that's the main crew that's going to fight against Doom in Secret Wars, right? So something like that could be going on. I got to tell you, though, if I were Marvel, I would absolutely do this. At this point, they need the biggest win. They need the most hype. They need this shit to be absolutely fucking awesome. So why not, bro? Why not have the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in your Doomsday? Why not just fucking go for it, bro? And also, I think he should be a part of Secret Wars. The rumor is, by the way, that Tobey and Hugh Jackman Wolverine and Tony Stark, RDJ, not as Doom, but as Tony Stark, that's like a huge part of Secret Wars. Those characters together were at one time, they were going to be the lead. Maybe they still are the lead, but even if they're not the lead, they're a huge part of the film. So that's another reason that this kind of makes sense. We've heard, by the way, that Hugh Jackman's in this thing. So Jackman, Wolverine, Toby, maybe you get Tony Stark at the very end of the film. Like, imagine this, right? Imagine we get this reveal of Doom, and we're like, holy shit, Doom is bad. He did some bad shit. Yo, this is crazy. And then we get actual Tony returning. That's going to feel cathartic. That's going to feel good. And we're going to be like, oh, thank God the good version's here. He's going to save the day. So maybe you get that, and that tracks with like Toby, Hugh, and Iron Man being together. That would be incredible. But let's keep going. Chris Evans is indeed in the movie. I asked them who they were playing, but they were unsure on exactly who, but said they are down as Luke Cage on the call sheet. But that's just to keep it from leaking. He isn't actually playing that role. Also noted that Marvel didn't think his casting would leak, which is why Chris publicly denied it, but he is 100% lying. Okay, now, the reason, I mean, I believe this. And also, the reason Marvel didn't think it would leak is because they were like probably lying to Jeff Snyder about it, just like they did with the Doctor Doom shit. Jeff is the one that first leaked that Evans is in it, and then a lot of other people corroborated it and sort of talked about it. So, like, yeah, Chris Evans is in it. By the way, he's playing a dual role. Okay? But now I got to tell you something that's real crazy, and this is a bit of speculation here, okay? But the fact that he's Luke Cage on the call sheet is really wild. Does anybody in chat know why that's so crazy? Anybody know where I'm going to go with this? Yeah, Duncan says one of the sets had Luke Cage's house or something like that on it. Yeah, so let me explain. They built a 1960s house that has a spaceship connected to it, and the spaceship is apparently Brie Larson's Captain Marvel ship. The house is, all we know about it is this 1960s house, and it's called Luke Cage's house. Okay? So what if the way they recruit Chris Evans in this film is they go to his actual house in the universe where he's with Peggy? What if they go into the universe where he's with Peggy? They're using America, pop an open thing, flying the ship in there, and they're literally getting Steve from that universe. That would be cool. Other production stuff they mentioned, the stuff about the filming whilst the script still isn't complete is true. They are going to take a 4-month break between filming Doomsday and Secret Wars. They were filming in a hot country recently. I can't remember which one they said specifically, but they said it got so hot that the filming equipment broke, so they had to halt filming for a few weeks. That's kind of crazy. Hasn't had any interaction with RDJ himself, but said they've heard nothing but good things about him. He's being really nice to the cast and the crew. They said it's been a dream to work on a Marvel production, but they've said it's honestly one of the messiest productions they've ever worked on. Said it's kind of hectic at the moment. However, they did say that from what he's heard, he does think the movie will actually be good and a big hit. Interesting. So that's kind of crazy. And, you know, I love that this is just like randomly in the replies from this dude here. But that is kind of how a lot of this stuff ends up happening. We don't find out till later how accurate it is or is not. But that's often just what it is, dude. It's like somebody that knows somebody just putting stuff out there. And it does technically match up with everything we've said. I think the big thing is Toby, of course. I think there's all sorts of reasons to believe that. The Chris Evans stuff is cool. Multiple Florence Pugh is kind of wild. And other than that, all of this is tracking, you know? And, man, Doomsday is going to be crazy. Like, I don't know that we'll all love it, but holy, they are going for it with Doomsday. Like, that is pretty crazy. So that's the new leaks. Would love to know what you think. What do you guys think about that? What do you make of it, chat? Let me know. What do you think? Money. Yeah. What about Andrew? Smack my head. He's amazing. I mean, I love Andrew as well. And I think you might get some more Andrew. I think he'll be in Doomsday. Or rather, Secret Wars. I don't know that it'll be in Doomsday. Will they reveal second set of the cast? Maybe. I'm not sure. I hope it's not goobly glob slop. There's just so much going on and no real buildup. Yeah, I think that's fair. We'll see it in 2 years. Well, we'll see it in about a year and a half, but yeah. 2 Yelena's seems to reinforce no ScarJo. I mean, I feel very strongly that ScarJo is in this movie. I just reread AVX. I really hope they incorporate some of the fight scenes into Doomsday. Yeah, that would be sick, dude, for sure. AVX is fun, you know, so I would like some of that too. I'd expect a Super Bowl commercial. I don't know. I almost feel like you do a Super Bowl Spider-Man 4 commercial. And then you do a summer Comic-Con if they ever go back to Comic-Con. Why does it feel like everybody's saying fuck Comic-Con, dude? That's crazy. ScarJo still got it. I mean, you're not wrong. Hey, you ain't wrong. Because of the Disney lawsuit, she working them again? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Fuck it. I don't even need any foreplay. Just give it to me, Marvel. Oh, damn. ScarJo is not doing any more Marvel. Yeah, I think she is. She's not working with them again? I think she is. I want to see multiple Lizzie Olsons. Oh, damn. Now you're talking my language, bro. Now you're talking my language, man. Do you think they'll introduce new Iron Man actors in Secret Wars, like how they did introduce new X-Men actors in Secret Wars? We don't even know if that's true about the X-Men. It's possible, though, for sure. For sure. For sure, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look at this. I told you guys about this. The Latveria chair. My Time to Shine confirmed that it's in there. I mean, I knew it was in there too, but there's a scene in Fantastic Four where the major world leaders gather together to discuss the threat of Galactus, and there's an empty spot with a flag that says Latveria. Yup. Told you. I told you about that shit. I told you about that shit. Did I tell you about that shit? Is Deadpool involved at all with Doomsday or Secret Wars? Yes, I believe so. Although I think it'll be a minor role in Doomsday, and I don't know, potentially minor in Secret Wars as well. But yeah, I think so. Yes. Okay, couple other things we got to get into today. Guys, we got to keep going, okay? We got to keep going. There's a lot to get into. Everybody relax. Everybody relax. Let's talk about this. This is pretty cool. Marvel reportedly planning to introduce a new version of one of its greatest comic book villains. This is over on Murphy's Multiverse.com. The article reads, Though the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom has been met with heavy skepticism, the villain's arrival in the MCU is certainly overdue. Downey's Doom, rumored to debut in a post-credit scene in the Fantastic Four ahead of the first major role in Avengers Doomsday, will be the third live-action iteration of that character, following the late Julian McMahon's vain and menacing Victor and Toby Kebbell's Hacker Doom. While it's unclear what Marvel Studios has planned for Doom, it seems likely Downey's version will have little in common with the previous versions and likely be a bit more comic accurate in terms of his roots as a mystic. The studio plans to do with Doom is beyond the Multiverse Saga, and it's not clear. But a new rumor claims Marvel has plans to introduce its own version of another villain who, like Doom, has previously been portrayed by a pair of actors. According to Marvel insider Daniel Rickman, Kevin Feige and crew are planning to introduce the MCU version of Norman Osborn. Oh my God. First played most famously by the recent Willem Dafoe in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and Spider-Man No Way Home, and briefly by Chris Cooper in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Osborn is considered not only Spider-Man's greatest villain, but one of the House of Ideas' most menacing baddies. Though he's recently been an ally to the web slinger in the comics, including in Joe Kelly's ongoing series, he's the type of villain who, when utilized properly, can threaten the entire Marvel universe. Though Rickman's report doesn't give any detail on the studio's plans for Osborn, nor indicate when to expect him, it may be versatility and potential to serve as a large-scale villain that the studio values most. Spider-Man Brand New Day, which begins filming soon, could provide a good opportunity to show Norman Osborn. Okay, so first off, Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin is an S-tier Marvel villain. All of you in chat hate that and you disagree with me, but I've always said that Norman and the Green Goblin is S-tier, and I am so glad that he's back. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, there's more to this than meets the eye, motherfucker. And I know, sometimes you guys don't like it when I call you motherfucker, but you motherfuckers better listen up, because there's way more to this than meets the eyes, motherfucker. So allow me to do what not many can and provide you context, because I've been chronically online studying Marvel and reporting on it for 9 years. What you might not remember is that this is not the first time that we've heard these reports. This is not the first time we've heard this. And in fact, the Oscorp Tower was supposed to be in the skyline of the first Avengers movie. Shh, 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 shh. Shut your mouth. I'm gonna tell you some shit. Shh, 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 shh. Hush, hush now. Hush now. Yeah, that's right. Oscorp Tower was supposed to be in the skyline of the very first Avengers movie. On top of that, do you guys remember the rumors about 5 years ago that Marvel Studios wanted a split story after Endgame? They wanted a Earthbound story, and they wanted a cosmic story. Do you remember that? Anybody remember? Rossi says, finally, S-tier Goblin we deserve. Marvel is back. Hell yeah. Okay. So at the time, Norman was being looked at. Kevin Feige badly wanted Norman Osborn. And in fact, there were people like, dude, do you guys remember a scooper known as Professor Hulk? I'm taking you way back, man. But do you guys remember Professor Hulk? I believe his name was Nick Santos. I know, bro. I can't pronounce things. I can't spell things. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast. But for whatever reason, I fucking remember silly ass shit like this. Okay? Anyway, so this guy actually had a really big scoop that Norman was coming back. And in fact, do you guys remember that there was a scoop from Grace Randolph. Have you guys ever heard of Grace Randolph? You ever hear of Grace Randolph? Do you know Grace Randolph? Mr. Jazz says, off topic, but I've never heard you mention Snyder in relation to Warhammer, and I'm surprised. I think his sensibilities would be perfect for it. Should Cavill reunite with Snyder for Warhammer? Yes. But also, please remind me outside of this segment, and I'll gush about that, okay? Yeah, Grace Randolph. Icon. Queen. Mother. The final form of wokeness. Look, we love Grace Randolph. At least some of us do. Grace Randolph has two big scoops that she got super wrong that kind of haunt her to this day. One of them was about some dick pics that were in the Birds of Prey movie. By the way, she was right about that, but the internet will never give her credit for it. The other one was that Norman Osborn was going to be introduced in one of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, the MCU version of Norman Osborn. This actually happened. This literally happened. Okay? And I got to tell you, I think she was right then as well. From what I understand, Marvel was very close to introducing their Norman Osborn, just like when they almost put Oscorp into the skyline of the 2012 Avengers movies. And from what I understand, Kevin Feige has been wanting Norman Osborn to be a part of the MCU for a long, long time. But he wants control. Okay? So there's actually a lot of history around this character and Kevin Feige's desire to have this character be a big part of the MCU. And the rumor was, just to be super clear, the rumor was, and both Nick Santos character and Grace Randolph both reported that this was going to happen, that at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, Peter was going to find the MCU version of Norman. Okay, now obviously that gets changed because Norman in the film's like, there is no Oscorp, my son doesn't exist and all that sort of shit, right? But anyway, the point is, I actually believe her. And from what I've heard, this was on the table. Okay, now, listen, Linda, because there's even more. Shh. Shut. Oh, look, you can see the cut that I acquired on my finger in HD. That's kind of weird, but just shh. Hush your mouth, okay? There's more. What do we know about Kevin Feige's plan with Spider-Man from Endgame to around October of 2019? What do we know? Bueller. We know that Kevin Feige wanted Peter Parker and Spider-Man to be one of the faces of the MCU. So do you think it's a fucking coincidence that Kevin has wanted Norman Osborn forever, and he was about to make Tom Holland the face of the MCU? Then Sony pulls that shit back, and then he makes a movie with Sony anyways, and he makes Norman Osborn the main fucking villain of it? Can't you see what's happening? Don't you see? Well, what else is going on? Well, we just found out that Sony has canceled all future spin-off plans from the Morbius movie, and including Noel. Are you seeing where we're going with this? Do you read the tea leaves? Are you starting to pick up what I'm setting down? If Kevin Feige is really circling the Norman Osborn character again, and Sony is really canceling all of their future plans, I take this as yet another sign that Sony is relinquishing control of Spider-Man back to Disney, maybe even selling the license back at a huge fucking price. Yeah. So we don't know. Okay, but start to think about it. Where's all this stuff coming? All this stuff's coming from Daniel. All of a sudden, Daniel's like, they're canceling their plans. All of a sudden, Daniel's like, they want Norman again. I have a lot of trouble believing that after 2019, Kevin Feige would revert to his prior plan if he didn't have the confidence that he'd actually be able to do it. Now, they did sign contracts, and I believe Tom is locked in for like 4 more films or something like that. But if it's Norman and it's Tom and Sony's canceling all their shit, all of a sudden I'm starting to think it is possible that Spider-Man is truly coming home. And I think that Sony is going to sell. That's what I think. So this is wild. Even if it's just that we're getting another Norman, that's wild. But I'm telling you, there's deeper context here. There's more to it. And I think this is a sign that Kevin's getting all the toys. And I think he's going to do what he wanted to do before in Phase 4 and 5. But now he's going to do it in the Cosmic X-Men Saga thing after the reboot. That's what I think. So that's the report. What do you guys think about that, man? Like, what do you think about that? I will become a Sony shill if they do this. Please, Sony, please. Oh, yeah, there you go. Will Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman be in Secret Wars, please? Oh, I highly doubt it. I mean, maybe, but I highly doubt it. Galactus Popcorn Bucket just dropped. Yes, it did, and I'm trying to go out and get it today and get a couple of them, actually. Yeah. Spider-Man coming home. They've been saying this since Homecoming, eh? I'll believe it when I see... yeah, that's fair. Waste of money? What's a waste of money? Buying Spider-Man back or the Galactus thing? Because, like, yeah, the Galactus thing is a little bit of a waste of money. It's not as cool as a Custodes gravity tank. You know what I mean? Like, this costs, like, way more than the Galactus thing, but it actually has utility. You know what I mean? Look at the swivel. I mean, look at that paint job, you know? Like, this is smart investment, you know? The Galactus helmet, nah. But, yeah. I'll show you a waste of money. Oh, damn, okay. But I want Norman to be Coleman Domingo. I don't think Sony's going to sell Spider-Man, though. We'll see. So Spidey dying in Secret Wars, right? Dying and then coming back with the symbiote? Possibly. Possibly. Is that a Walmart or Warhammer shirt? It is a Warhammer shirt, yeah. It is. You want to see it? It's the evolution of man. It's the evolution of man. And then Space Marine. Mm-hmm. It's also a Walmart shirt. It's not a Walmart shirt. Although I wish Warhammer had Walmart shirts. That'd be cool. Looks woke? Oh, totally, dude. Absolutely. You were supposed to talk about Snyder and Warhammer. Okay, yeah, let me talk about that a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, I think they would be a good fit together for sure. And I think it would be very hyped. Like, I think Zach obviously still has a very hardcore base, people that really enjoy his work. Zach is currently making that MMA movie. Josh, weren't you wearing that shirt on your member stream last night? No. And the reason I know that is because I was naked last night. Don't you remember? Anyway, I'm not sure why that's not something that's being talked about, but I think Zach's MMA movie is a very big deal. It might even be financed through like Saudi or something. So I'm not sure what that is, but it seems like that's a very big project. I think the UFC is a huge brand. MMA is big. That's going to be a big movie, you know? So that's kind of like Zach's next thing. Cavill's doing Highlander, and then, you know, I think he's probably going to get into the Warhammer stuff more seriously after that. And I think Cavill is out there kind of recruiting. You know, Adam was sharing some comments made in a recent interview, and it kind of seems like maybe Guy Ritchie will do a Warhammer episode, and that's really cool. So I'm not sure, but yes, I think Zach would be a great fit for Warhammer, for sure. Is it possible we're about to live in a world where all the Marvel has all toys, DC building a working universe, and Kathleen Kennedy steps away from Lucasfilm? Oh boy. That would be something, right? So he's saying that Marvel would have control of all of their characters back. That would be incredible, and I think that could be happening. Kathleen Kennedy away from Star Wars doing its own thing. DC potentially starting off doing good work there. Yeah, this could all be turning around for sure. Wolves Codex dropped on the app yesterday. I'm coming for you. Oh shit! How strong? How strong do they look? I mean, I've seen some matches. They seem pretty strong for sure. Okay. I think we're gonna have to talk a little bit about Ironheart. What's my time at? Where's my time? Oh man, we're running out of time. Holy shit. Okay, let's you know what? Let's do it. Let's break into this, and then we'll do a little Q&A. We'll probably get out of here, okay? Okay. So, this is a thing. People are talking about this shit, man. This is coming from the Cosmic Circus. It has to do with Mephisto and some of the future plans that Marvel is cooking, okay? How the events of Ironheart set the stage for Damnation. Ever since Marvel Studios kicked off its Multiverse Saga with WandaVision back in 2021, fans have been anxiously awaiting the arrival of the devil in the details. Mephisto, the character, had been teased across multiple projects for a number of years, with fans basically turning his arrival into a meme. However, the wait is finally over. Marvel's newest series, Ironheart, recently aired Disney Plus with exciting new villain reveals, Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto. For those that follow the comic book and that show rumors, his appearance of Mephisto has been long anticipated, but the implications of his appearance should be far-reaching, especially in the supernatural corner of the MCU. The MCU, Mephisto, and Damnation. According to our sources, Marvel Studios is currently has plans to adapt the comic event known as Damnation, a major 2018 storyline starring the Midnight Suns. The Midnight Suns team in the comics includes Blade, Ghost Rider, Elsa Bloodstone, Man-Thing, Moon Knight, and Dr. Voodoo. The main 4-issue series was written by Donny Cates and Nick Spencer, with art by Rod Reis. In the comic, Mephisto takes over Las Vegas, literally creating hell on Earth. As protection, he turns the Avengers into demonic Ghost Rider-style minions. Wong has to assemble a new version of the Midnight Suns to infiltrate Mephisto's lair and end his domination before he takes over the world. In the grand finale, Johnny Blaze summons Ghost Rider from across the multiverse and sacrifices himself to defeat Mephisto. Holy shit, that's kind of cool. Midnight Suns Damnation in the MCU. Mephisto certainly has been busy behind the scenes for many years in the MCU, the idea being that those that have met and made a deal with him for any particular reason will one day be forced to serve him when he calls upon their souls and transforms them into demonic versions of themselves. This will affect some characters known in the MCU as the Hood and Ironheart, and others that we don't necessarily know yet. There will not be a one-to-one direct adaptation of the story in the MCU. It will be heavily influenced by those events. Mephisto will seek to conquer Earth and establish dominion over hell itself. This explains the current status in Ironheart, and it's something that should be elaborated on by the time we get to the Blade movie, which is still under development. But sources have pointed to the movie's villain Lilith as a potential rival to Mephisto during the time of Damnation. The whole purpose is to eventually explore the story set within the supernatural setting of the MCU. Damnation storyline culminating will be the Midnight Suns movie. Other related MCU projects, other projects currently being developed, Midnight Suns storyline include continuation of Werewolf by Night, with the goal of bringing Jack Russell, Elsa Bloodstone, and Man-Thing into the MCU. A Moon Knight sequel where Mark Spector and Stephen Grant will be forced to solve a mystery that would eventually bring them face-to-face with their third personality, Jake Lockley. A Strange Academy storyline, which would have Wong and America Chavez, along with some other mystical characters that we've met in Ironheart. Another character rumored to appear in Strange Academy would be Nico Minoru. Okay, interesting. Okay, so TLDR on this. It seems like there is still a plan here for Midnight Suns, for Blade. Obviously, Blade's been delayed for like a million fucking years. Midnight Sun seems to still have its issues. And we did finally get Mephisto. And according to Alex, Mephisto is still a thing. It's going to go somewhere. So, like, Sacha Baron Cohen apparently is going to be in at least 3 other projects. That came out earlier in the week. Kind of wild. I wonder if this will be able to succeed. The supernatural side of Marvel is great. But, I mean, Blade's just been delayed so damn long. I can't imagine Ironheart actually did that well as a show, although we don't know for sure. I don't think we have any numbers. I can't imagine it did very well. Moon Knight, I don't think did very well. I mean, I don't even think people really watched the special with Werewolf by Night, unfortunately. Like, I truly don't think that performed very well. So this is kind of a wild situation here. I would argue there's a way to make the Blade movie and then follow that up with like Midnight Suns. That would be good. Sasha is incredibly talented and the character is very cool. We've also been hearing a lot about Ghost Rider, and apparently Ghost Rider is supposed to be the leader of the Midnight Suns. So potentially like a sacrifice, multiple Ghost Riders, a way to kind of get to a place where, you know, you pass the baton or you do something new there. I don't know. I mean, it's potentially cool. I guess it's just hard for me to get excited about it because, number one, Blade should have been out by now. Number two, I didn't even watch Ironheart, including the Mephisto stuff. Like, I'm so over it that I don't even care. Like, people are saying, like, oh, he's actually really good in the show. Couldn't care less. I would obviously check him out in whatever movie or whatever bigger project they would do. But I'm lacking a lot of the ingredients. Like, I guess here's what I'm trying to say. This rings a little bit like Marvel trying to make a lot of the shit they were trying to do still happen. And I'm just less interested in that. Like, I do want Blade to happen. I would not mind Midnight Suns. But, like, out of all the characters they just talked about, Ghost Rider is the most interesting to me, and he's literally not a part of the MCU. Like, I'm talking, like, Wong, Blade, Elsa Bloodstone, Moon Knight, Wong. Out of that entire fucking list, the most interesting one is Ghost Rider. And I deadass think you might be better served to just make a Ghost Rider movie. And then potentially just make Midnight Suns focusing on Ghost Rider. You know who else is way cooler than all these characters? Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange. Way back in the day, when people were talking about Midnight Suns, they were talking about the Scarlet Witch, and they were talking about Doctor Strange. That movie made almost $1 billion without China. I think Doctor Strange and Wanda together is good. I hope that the response to that movie hasn't like changed their mind or whatnot. But I don't know. I mean, it's like there's ways this could go together that I think would be cool. But I still have a lot of trepidation. I'm just not exactly sure that Mephisto did anything for anybody. Like, I guess I just don't know because I really didn't check. But like, did Mephisto pop? Like, were people freaking out about Mephisto? Did I miss it? I just don't know. Brother Voodoo is cool. That's true. Brother Voodoo is cool. I just don't think people really went nuts for it. So it's hard for me to like justify that as a big next thing, you know? New Rockstars did? Sure. And I would expect that. Yeah. Is Mephisto a big bad in the comics? Yeah, Mephisto's great in the comics. Very powerful. Very, very strong. Just Voss from New Rockstars popped? Yeah, it's just like tough, man. Like, it's not that I'm against it, but there's a part of me that says I would scrap all of that shit. I would just move forward. And you could do Supernatural still, but like, are you really going to try to connect Ironheart, Moon Knight, the Werewolf by Night show? Like, I thought a part of this was like, with the reboot specifically, was we don't want people to have homework. And we don't want people to feel like there's all this shit. So, like, why not just say, fuck that, and just bring in, like, the Ghost Rider? And then, like, sure, you could have some of those people in the Ghost Rider thing, you know, and that could be cool and that could be fun and have flavor. But, like, if we're really trying to, like, make it so all these other projects matter, I just don't think I'm down. You know? Like, I just don't care. I would care more if it was completely new characters. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I mean, I guess this is something that's probably exciting people. I think the Supernatural side is an untapped side of Marvel. Maybe there's a way that, like, in Doomsday and maybe even in Secret Wars, because, like, Doom is using a lot of magic as well. And I would love it if, like, after the reboot, there's, like, some kind of magic that's been unchained, or, like, there's something different about magic in the new universe. That's an exciting idea, and maybe that allows Mephisto to have more power or control. That's kind of cool. But, like, really and truly, I do not want to go back and try to make Phase 4, 5, or even 6 characters relevant, matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not about that. So I guess we'll see what they do, but not too exciting for me. Not too exciting for me, to be honest, man. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Riri is killed during Doomsday off screen. Oh, that's too bad. We need Blade. Yeah, for sure. I think they should make the Blade movie. Bringing back Robbie Reyes from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. need it. I know people like it, but yeah. You don't like scary movies, though? No, I'm not a big fan of scary movies, no. Hey, Josh, do you know if they're showing the whole Fantastic Four movie tonight or the UK premiere, or is it just the first 30 minutes again? I'm not sure, actually. I would assume it's the first 30 minutes. But I am not 100% sure about that shit. Not 100% sure. Did you not like Moon Knight? No, I did not like Moon Knight. The first episode's cool. Some of the other episodes but that ending, ballsack. Hated the end of that show. Still wondering what the fuck everyone saw in the first half of Superman. What do you mean? Ironheart deserves a second season more than DD. What? Man, Daredevil, I gotta tell you. Fuck Daredevil Born Again, dude. That show's ass. But I'm gonna be there day one for season 2. But I'm also gonna be kind of watching it like this. Like, this is me watching Daredevil season 2. I swear to God, if his stupid ass ex-girlfriend tries to say any goddamn shit, like, you want to win me over? Want to win me over in the very first scene? It's what's her face? What's his ex-girlfriend called? Karen? She's the real Karen. Smokey says, was Ryan Coogler making Sinners his way of showing Feige he wants Blade? Nerdvenge for life. Got a second little Nerdvengerette on the way, due in November as well. Oh, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. Yeah, there could be a little bit of that. Could be a little bit of that. Apparently, they used some of the costumes that were originally made for Blade when it was going to be a period piece, and they used them for Coogler's film. That's crazy. Jennifer? All right. So, opening scene of the show. That character writing like a journal, like outlining, doing like a side breakdown of like Matt Murdock or whatever, right? And she's like writing it down. And then like Matt like crashes through the window, kicks the journal out of her hands, and then beats the shit out of her. You know what I mean? And not like, but she's bad. Like she like hurts him or something, or like stabs him or something like that, and then just like boom, 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 and just beats the shit out of her. And then standing over her as she's like bloodied and beaten on the ground, he picks the journal up and starts reading all of the things she wrote, but like in a like, really, Heather? Matt has this feeling about this thing. I'm like, really, Heather? Like, get dark, man. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, dude. Like, really, like, take him to a really crazy dark place. But at the same time, like, look, different strokes for different folks. I know some of you wouldn't like that, and that's fine. You know, dude, he's blind. Yeah, but he's Daredevil. I mean, he could definitely beat her ass, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. I know she said she saved herself. That ain't what happened, brother. You know what I mean? Like, she needs... Yeah. She writing in Braille? Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Maybe Punisher's there with him. And Punisher's reading it. And then Daredevil's, like, just getting, like, super fucking triggered. Everything that Punisher's reading. And then, like, maybe Heather's like, that's not even what I wrote, Matt. And then Punisher will be like, no, wait, you know. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. This is good stuff, man. This stuff writes itself, you know. All right. I think that's all we're going to go over today, chat. You know what? Fuck it. No, it's not. One more thing. Hey, by the way, look at this. I thought this was really funny. This is some wisdom for you guys here, okay? It says, there are two types of people in this world. Avoid them both. Until next time, friends. And this is about Superman Discourse. Oh, look at this. I said, if he gets lectured by his ex-girlfriend all season again, I'm burning my jersey. It does look good, though. It looks like way less annoying girlfriend lecturing and way more of, like, Daredevil and shit. So that seems good. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, so there's a two-parter here of what I want to talk about because Solo Leveling, an absolutely fucking incredible anime, is being adapted for live action, which is fucking wild. However, we got to talk about this, man. This report here, Netflix reports 50% of its global users watch anime. 150 million households. Anime viewership tripled in 5 years. 80 to 90% watch it dubbed. Holy shit. That's crazy. So that's a substantial amount of growth. It actually corresponds to one of the reports that Variety put out in the past couple of weeks, which basically said something similar. Something like 1 in 3 consumers is into anime. Wild, right? So, with that being said, at a time when comic book stuff seems to maybe be going, at the very least, slowing down, right? It's not popping the way it used to. And maybe potentially even, you know, it's fatiguing people. It's on the way out. It's no longer going to be the biggest game in town. We've talked a lot about how video game stuff seems to be very big, and people are keeping an eye on that. However, I do think it's interesting. You look at that anime number, bro. I mean, how fast do you think Hollywood's going to move on this? Because it is just so obvious how popular anime has become. You know, there's all sorts of reasons for this. I do think Hollywood has been basically fucking up for 5 years. And it's not like every single project, obviously. It's not every single writer and director. But by and large, I think Hollywood has just been fucking up. And that's a part of why people are not going to movies as much. And while Hollywood has been kind of like fucking up, anime has been doing pretty good. Anime's been just entertaining people. It doesn't come with a lot of the same baggage. Doesn't come with a lot of the same bullshit. The fandoms, I mean, the fandoms are fandoms, but maybe a little bit better than like a Star Wars fandom or a DC or a Marvel fandom right now. With all that being said, I found this report to be so interesting, especially considering the timing of that other stuff. So a live action Solo Leveling series is now in production at Netflix. Now, Netflix has done a lot of live action stuff. Most of it's been goobly glob, total bullshit. However, the One Piece live action show was the show that broke the curse, okay? The One Piece live action anime show broke the curse of live action anime adaptations. It is the very best live action anime adaptation. It is very fucking popular. Netflix is heavily invested in the future of that show and in continuing to do that. But Solo Leveling, that's fucking wild. Okay? Now, One Piece, a bit of a safer bet. One Piece is like the most published comic of all time, like over 40 million copies sold worldwide. It has over 1,100 different chapters. It had an anime going on for like 30 plus years, maybe 20 years. But it's like one of the most known, most published, most seen. People love One Piece. It's absolutely a legacy brand, and so it makes perfect sense for them to do that. Solo Leveling is not even Japanese. It's Korean. It's manga or magua. Started out as a web comic. A web comic. Or was that, or I'm actually might be mixing up One Punch Man, actually. So take the webcomic thing out of it. Although I think it actually did start as a webcomic as well. And then it gets adapted with like the color and the beautiful magua that, you know, you eventually saw. But I think this thing's only been out like 5 or 6 years. It doesn't have nearly the imprint. It doesn't have nearly the amount of published copies sold. However, Solo Leveling is, I think, Anime of the Year, and it has some of the highest viewership that they've ever seen on like Crunchyroll and shit like that. So during the course of this season, I think it was 3 episodes in a row, literally crashed the Crunchyroll app. Like, people were just flooding into the app to watch these episodes, and they are fucking incredible. Like, first season's like, okay. Season 2 of Solo Leveling was incredible, and it did huge numbers. So, point is, this is Netflix looking at some data, and instead of going after a legacy brand that's super well established, going after the hot new thing. The hot new thing. And Solo Leveling, I think, has to be more expensive than One Piece. I would assume the One Piece live action show is a pretty expensive show. Like, it has a lot of visual effects. You know, to make it work as live action, like, you got to spend some serious money. Okay? But I cannot imagine Solo Leveling without a massive budget. Like, maybe one of the largest budgets they have dedicated to a show. So, this is wild. This is wild AF, and we're going to see how this translates. But if this is successful, this could usher in a whole new era, and it could have Hollywood playing copycat and catch up and doing all sorts of live action anime stuff. And I mean, it's kind of one of those things where like I saw a take yesterday where somebody was saying, like, one of the worst things to possibly happen to anime was for it to get this popular. And now it's like, just like anything else, it just doesn't feel the same, and it feels overbloated and too commercialized and all these different things, right? And Hollywood could take it to another level and really fuck it up and ruin it. However, with the One Piece live action show existing and me absolutely loving it, I am somehow, some way getting excited about Solo Leveling. And I do think there's a scenario in which Solo Leveling could really break some serious ground. And like, dude, does this get us a little bit closer to like actual good live action Dragon Ball? Does this get us to a place where somebody buys the live action Akira rights and actually does it the right way? Like the Naruto movie with Destin Daniel Crichton is apparently still real. Is this project going to potentially change how the Naruto movie could work? Are we going to see in the next couple of years Hollywood pivot and lean into anime? I think you might. This project in particular may well decide the fate of that entire movement. So we're kind of like at the ground level here. And I'll be really interested to see how it goes. Dude, they need to spend all the fucking money they have on this shit. They need to spend all the money. They also need the actual creator to be involved. Like, they need the mangaka, which you would hope they would, right? Because they have a contract with Oda, although apparently, like, they technically don't have to listen to Oda. They're just choosing to, which is a little concerning. But yeah, one would hope they approach this in the right way, get the creator involved, get a really good visual effects team. Because, dude, this in live action, if done correctly, could be one of the coolest fucking things ever. And then, like, dude, the sky's the limit. Like, I want Bleach, you know, FLCL, Evangelion. Like, dude, can you imagine? Like, dude, anime fans, I know some of you are gonna say this is fucking blasphemous, okay? But could you imagine Evangelion done with, like, the care of the Dune movies? Could you imagine a trilogy of Evangelion movies done with the care of Denis Villeneuve's Dune? Holy shit. Holy shit. Like, bruh, there's some gold in them hills. The religious symbolism might offend a particular loud American audience. Possibly. But, I mean, that story's been around forever, and I think it's considered seminal. I don't know how much backlash there is to that element of it just in general, because it's, like, so trippy. But, yeah, maybe, potentially. We need a director like the Godzilla -1 to take something like that on. Yeah, you would need a very good director, for sure. For sure. You know who is going to be paying attention to this very closely is Michael B. Jordan. So Michael B. Jordan is a massive anime fan, like an actual anime fan, which, by the way, he's super pumped that Black Clover's coming back, because he's a real one and he actually understands how good Black Clover is. Don't get me fucking started. Don't get me started on Black Clover and how it's so much better than My Hero and it's so much better than a lot of the other shonen. Don't get me started. Okay, you're not ready for that conversation. But Black Clover is peak. Everybody was wrong about Black Clover. Everybody was wrong. Don't you fucking get me started on that shit. Don't fucking get me started. Anyway, there's some talented people in Hollywood that are probably going to pay very close attention to this and that are excited if this is a new route, a new avenue that they could tell stories and tap into IP. This could actually be really cool. So, dude, I did not expect this. I did not expect Netflix to be like, yeah, we're doing live action Solo Leveling. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Solo Leveling? This shit is crazy. So that would be very, very wild. We'll follow closely with it. If any updates happen, I'll bring it to you guys. I'm kind of excited. Solo Leveling, baby. Dragon Ball Evolution, anyway? Don't say that in here. Joel says, give me Berserk Ninja Scroll Gundam movie. Dude, can you fucking imagine Berserk? Oh, my God. I don't know that this generation could handle Berserk. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think this generation could handle Berserk. Adam says, why do you think manga and anime can tell these decade-spanning stories, yet Western comics reboot with issue number 1 every few years? I think the comics industry got a little too addicted to short-term pops, and they're so addicted to all the gimmicks and the ways that those gimmicks improve sales that they're not going to let the thing just stack volumes. You know what I mean? So like in anime and manga and stuff, like if you want to read Berserk, or if you want to read My Hero, or you want to read Solo Leveling, like it's just, you just read Solo Leveling, you just read Berserk, you start at volume 1 and you just keep going. And there will be events and arcs and moments that are really cool and whatnot, but by and large, it's just one continuous story, you know, doing its thing. You know, ironically, one of the reasons that manga can do this is that most manga actually does not use character development in the same way that American stories do. So I've brought this example up before. Some people get butthurt about it, but it's true. Like, Goku really hasn't changed that much. Like, he's still the guy that wants to fight, test his strength. He's a knucklehead. He's not really a good dad, but he's got a heart of gold. You know, and he doesn't really change that much. The people around him change, but he doesn't really change that much. So there could be something to that where, like, in American comics, they sort of arc characters out, and then there's, like, not really a place you can take the character once they've sort of arced out. So therefore, they have to reboot or recreate status quo and stuff like that. And they don't really do that over there. So that's a part of it. That's a part of it. Henny Boo Boo says, I've avoided anime since high school because I was scared it would skew my art style. Chose classic art and comics, beginning to regret it 12 years later. Oh, you know what's so funny about that, man? Is if you were to ask a lot of the early manga people, where did they get their influence? Do you know what they would tell you? They would actually tell you it came from Walt Disney. And you're like, wait, what? They don't look anything like Walt Disney. Well, obviously, they take their own kind of aesthetic considerations there. But it was how Walt Disney was using, like, silhouette. How Walt Disney was using, like, character profiles that were very recognizable. And a lot of the early manga writers and artists used early Walt Disney animation as a way to improve and take influence from for manga. And then ironically, American comic artists, like a lot of the Image guys, were heavily affected by like Ultraman and some of these other mangas that were happening. And you see that reflected in their style. So you going from like the Silver Age comic stuff into a lot of the, like, you look at Liefeld's stuff, or like even Eric Larson and some of the other Image guys, there's so much more expressiveness and motion, dynamic stuff that's happening. That comes from manga. So like art and artists are always influenced and also respinning and retooling and, genre mashing, like doing a mashup or whatever. So yeah, man, I understand your concern there, but bro, there are really no original artists anymore. Like, we're all just kind of recycling and remixing stuff, you know? Yeah. How are you so tuned in on so many IPs? I'm just a big nerd. And when you're a nerd and you like something, you want to know everything about it. Like, that's one of the things that happens with nerds. They get, like, obsessed. And so I know a lot of shit about a lot of nerdy shit. That's why I'm here, you know? Isn't it funny how the pendulum swings? It is funny. It is interesting how that goes. Yeah. That's the tism. Yeah, no, it's called weaponized autism. Yeah. You don't seem like a nerdy type? Oh, really? Okay. Yo, I'm here. I missed the stream yesterday. LOL, was Superman good? I loved it, man. I loved it. I thought Superman was great. In elementary / middle school, it was all the teen books and movies, Divergent, Hunger Games, Twilight, Percy Jackson, and all that. Yeah. You might be right there. Thoughts on Hunter x Hunter? Man, it's one of the holes in my game, man. I haven't really dedicated a lot of time to it. I've seen a few episodes that are really cool. My best friend is like super into anime, so a lot of the anime knowledge I have kind of comes from him. And he'll like, oh, you gotta watch this one, or like, oh, you gotta know this and all that. How would you execute a good Superman video game? Oh man, I mean, the tough one about that is like you want to be able to feel like Superman, have that power. Be able to fly really quickly, like do all that sort of stuff, use your X-ray vision and all this sort of stuff. I gotta be honest though, I feel like if there was a way to do that and also connect it to literally almost a point and click mystery like detective game, like to be able to use his powers in an interesting way to like decipher information, figure something out, that would be kind of cool. So I don't know what that would look like exactly, but I'm almost feeling like a mix between like a point and click, really tough like puzzle game and a jet fighter, fluid as fuck, open world type thing. Yeah. Mike Porter says, Josh, without spoiling, did they do Metamorpho right? He's one of my favorite DC obscure characters. I mean, I think he's done well in the film. He's honestly not one of my favorite parts of the movie, but it is cool where they take his character eventually. There was some emotional stuff with him that didn't really work for me, but otherwise cool. Otherwise pretty cool. A real nerd wouldn't have said Hunter x Hunter, just Hunter x Hunter. Oh, shit, you got me, dude. It's all been an act. This whole time, it's been an act. But you finally got me. You cracked the code. Ethan, appreciate you for 5 gifted memberships, dude. Holy, that's very nice. Thank you. Don't regret it, bro. What? The only person I could actually see adapting Berserk is Snyder. That's true. Snyder would be a good pick for that. Del Toro would be a good pick for that, too, though. Yeah. You know who else would be good? George Miller. Yeah. That'd be cool. Can't wait for Insomniac Wolverine game. Yeah, that sounds cool. I won't play it, though, because I'm not a real nerd. I just play one on YouTube. I won't really play it, but yeah, I'm glad you're excited. My hometown needs more nerds. The world probably needs more nerds in general, yeah. We are kind of the best at, like, everything and stuff, so. We are kind of the best at everything and stuff, so that's cool. That's pretty chill. That's pretty cool. Okay, guys, I got to get on out of here. Nice, big old girthy stream today. I hope you had a good time, man. Almost 3 hours. Getting into all sorts of crazy nerdy shit, man. It's been wild. It's been good. No stream tomorrow. I gotta be honest, probably not a nerdy news rundown tomorrow either. Just someone to work on Superman movie videos. I do have to figure out getting NNR going eventually. But also, like, dude, I'm kind of enjoying these Fridays off, man. Like, I'm kind of enjoying these Fridays off. They're not really off. They're just off from streaming. And I'm able to like create and rest a little bit more and kind of keep it going. So we'll see what's up. Yeah, today's Thursday, right? Yeah, today's Thursday. So much love, man. Appreciate y'all. Thank you all for being here. Spoiler Superman review will drop later today. And then we got some other, oh, for sure, Adam, I will do that. I'll do that right now, brother. I saw you message last night, but yeah, I'll do this right now. Let me download this. Right now. Download. Okay, cool. Got it downloaded. Okay, everybody, much love. Appreciate y'all, man. Hey, we'll talk spoilers, Superman, box office, all that shit next week, man. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.
I'm not thinking about you.
Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Oh, that's a nice one. That's a nice one to end the week on there. That's a nice one there. Nice and thick for you there. Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you. I thought it was a good one. A lot of good convo, a lot of mixed feelings. I think a lot of y'all got to go see Superman and decide how you feel about it or whatever. And we'll have some more conversation about it, man. Maybe it'll surprise us all, make a bunch of money. Maybe it won't. Guess we're going to find out. And you know what? We're going to find out together. Yeah, man. Alrighty, everybody. Do me a favor on your way out, man. Open up your third eye and wash out your stinky butthole.